Chapter 1054. Today's competition was really strange. There were those who pretended to be strong, and now there were those who abandoned the competition and ran away. He had never encountered such a problem before, so he didn't know what to do for a moment. Let the others compete first. If Shi Yuchuan doesn't return by the end of the competition, then it will be considered as Jia Renzhong's victory. Jia Jinyan was also very helpless, but for the sake of fairness, he could only do so. Uncle Gui nodded his head in understanding. Although he knew that Shi Yuchuan definitely wouldn't return, he still arranged for Jia Renzhong to wait below the stage and let the other contestants continue with the competition. As expected, even after all the competitions had ended, Shi Yuchuan was still nowhere to be seen. Jia Renzhong won without a fight and obtained 3 points. At the same time, it also represented the official end of the Jia clan's 3-day competition. After Uncle Gui announced Jia Renzhong's points, Jia Jinyan stood up and smiled at all the outsiders who came to participate in the competition. He cupped his fists and bowed to all the outsiders who came to participate. He said amiably, "All right, the external competition has ended. Once again, on behalf of the Jia clan, I would like to thank all the disciples from the various sects and clans for coming to the Jia clan to support us. Now, please move to the guest hall. My trusted aide will be here to entertain everyone. According to my promise, spiritual jades will be distributed according to the results of the competition." After saying that, Jia Jinyan made a gesture of invitation and sent the guests of the external competition out of the martial arts hall. The guests who came to participate in the competition also knew that what happened next had nothing to do with them, so they walked to the guest hall in groups of 2s and 3s. Some of the friends who were already familiar with each other usually didn't see each other often due to their busy training missions. It was a good opportunity to catch up. Some of the newcomers also wanted to take the opportunity to expand their network. After a while, all the guests in the martial arts hall had left, leaving only the disciples of the Jia clan. Lady Xing had a mission and didn't want to be too far away from Shaoqin. However, considering that it wasn't appropriate for her to stay here alone, she hesitated for a while and felt that Shaoqin wouldn't suddenly run out of the Jia clan at this time. Hence, she chose to leave the martial arts hall first. After all the guests had left, the disciples of the Jia clan consciously lined up in front of Jia Jinyan and waited for the clan leader's instructions. Jia Jinyan swept his gaze across the audience and said solemnly, "After a few days of competition, I believe everyone has a deeper understanding of their own abilities. Although there's definitely a difference between the competition and reality, and the person who gets first place might not be able to manage the entire family well, since it's a legacy, there must be a result." At this point, Jia Jinyan paused slightly and glanced at the disciples of the Jia clan below the stage. He saw that at this moment, their expressions were all different. Some of them looked calm, some were dejected, some were resentful and unwilling, and so on and so forth. Jia Jinyan took a deep breath and said loudly, "Next, I will announce the winner of this competition." Everyone's expression immediately tensed up. Many people clenched their fists tightly and stared at Jia Jinyan. The atmosphere suddenly became a lot more tense. Only Shaoqin leisurely sat on the side with his legs crossed, looking like he didn't care at all. Picking up the form on the table, Jia Jinyan said word by word, "The champion of this year's clan's tournament is Jia Muzan, who obtained 16 patriarch points. According to the rules of the tournament, he will become the next successor of the clan leader. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao are ranked 2nd and 3rd respectively. They will become the next successor of the clan leader." Turning a page, Jia Jinyan read again, "In the competition of the collateral disciples, the champion is Jia Renzhong. He will also become the successor of the clan leader. As for the other collateral disciples, don't be discouraged. Continue to work hard. As long as you can perform well in the future, you will also have the opportunity to be promoted to the clan leader." Although they already knew the result, the moment they heard Jia Jinyan's announcement, Jia Huiyan and Jia Tiao still found it hard to accept. They looked at each other and saw the unwillingness in each other's eyes. They had thought that 2 tigers could not share the same mountain. As long as they could defeat each other, they could smoothly become the successor of the clan leader. They didn't expect that Jia Muzan, who had been ostracized and forced to run away from home, would suddenly appear out of nowhere and ruin their original plan. Alright, everyone has worked hard for the past few days. I'm sure you are all tired. After announcing the name list, Jia Jinyan's tone softened slightly. Tonight, the clan has prepared a sumptuous banquet. Firstly, it is to celebrate the birth of the new clan leader. Secondly, it is to reward everyone. I hope that when the time comes, the disciples of the clan and their external helpers can arrive on time and participate in the banquet. After finishing his announcement, seeing that no one raised any objections, Jia Jinyan packed up his things and prepared to leave the martial arts hall with his trusted aides. Clan leader, please wait. Jia Jinyan had not gone far when he heard a familiar voice behind him. Jia Jinyan turned his head and saw that it was Xiaochen walking over. He stopped in his tracks. Xiaochen walked up to Jia Jinyan, bowed to him, and asked with a smile, I have a question to ask clan leader. Since Jia Muzan has won, when can he officially become the clan leader of the Jia clan? Xiao Chen. You have quite the guts. This is our Jia clan's matter. Since when is it up to an outsider like you to intervene? Jia Huiyan was already extremely depressed that he had not become the clan leader's successor. When he heard Xiao Chen's words, he was immediately provoked. Without waiting for Jia Jinyan to speak, Jia Huiyan roared angrily. Jia Tiao, who was standing at the side, also had a displeased expression. He sneered in a lukewarm tone, that's right. You have to understand your own identity. You are just an external helper. Do you really think that you are not an outsider? Sigh, why is it that every time I want to ask clan leader some questions, you two losers always like to jump out and interrupt? Have you lost your minds after losing the match, or do you really want to show your existence? Xiao Chen retorted impatiently. He did not ask this question for no reason. After all of Xiao Chen's plans in the future were based on Jia Muzan becoming the clan leader. However, Jia Jinyan had only announced that Jia Muzan would become the next clan leader. He had not clearly stated when he would take over. That was why Xiao Chen was a little anxious. After all, his father was still in an abyss of suffering. If he could not find out his father's whereabouts as soon as possible, he was afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. Forget it, Xiao Chen. Grandfather will naturally make arrangements. He must have his reasons for not letting me directly become the clan leader. Don't be too impulsive. Jia Muzan pulled on Xiao Chen's sleeve and comforted him softly. Although he could understand Xiao Chen's eagerness to save his father, his grandfather still had the final say in the entire Jia clan. Chapter 1055. If he angered him, not only would Xiao Chen suffer, but he might also lose the inheritance right that he had just obtained. That would not be worth it. Xiao Chen was slightly startled. Only then did he realize that he was a bit too impatient. After all, Jia Muzan was not the patriarch yet. If he was too impulsive, it was very likely that he would make a fool of himself. I don't know why you, as an external aide, would ask this question. Although Jia Jinyan was a bit annoyed, he thought that it might be because he did not explain clearly, so he suppressed the anger in his heart and said indifferently, I will take it that you are concerned about Jia Muzan, so I can tell you. Glancing at Jia Muzan, Jia Jinyan explained indifferently, this time's family competition is a test of individual ability. However, Jia Muzan still needs a period of time to learn the daily affairs of the patriarch. Only when I feel that he is qualified will he officially inherit the position of patriarch. Are you satisfied with this explanation? Oh, so that's how it is. I thought that Jia Muzan only won a title and did not have any practical use. Xiao Chen nodded. He felt that he was indeed a bit rude, so he cupped his hands at Jia Jinyan and said apologetically, Patriarch, I apologize for my attitude just now. I hope you don't take it to heart. Forget it, it doesn't matter. Do you have any other questions? If not, then I will leave first. Jia Jinyan smiled slightly and waved his hand. It seemed that he did not have any intention of blaming him. However, he still secretly kept an eye on him. After all, Xiao Chen's behavior was indeed a bit strange. Looking at Jia Jinyan's back as he left, Jia Muzin could not help but break out in a cold sweat. He frowned and said softly, Xiao Chen, I also know that you want to find your father as soon as possible, but you still have to think twice. If you really offend grandfather, I reckon that both of us will not be able to bear the consequences. At that time, all our previous efforts will be wasted. I know. Xiao Chen nodded. I am a bit unhappy with your grandfather's way of doing things. However, you can rest assured that I will restrain myself in the future and will not do anything out of line. Although he said so, Xiao Chen still slightly sighed. It seemed that helping Jia Muzin become the patriarch was only the beginning. There was still a long way to go. Then let's go back first. Cheng Menjing and the others are still waiting for our good news. Jia Muzin patted Xiao Chen's shoulder in understanding and consoled him softly, don't worry too much. Your father will be fine. Once I get access to the core secrets, I'll definitely help you find out his whereabouts first. Xiao Chen helplessly smiled. Although he was still worried about his father's safety, he also knew that he could only take one step at a time. Therefore, he put down his worries and left the martial hall with Jia Muzin. Tu Yao, you're the one with the most cunning ideas. Can you think of a way to kill Xiao Chen and Jia Muzin without anyone noticing? Jia Huiyan said viciously as he looked at the backs of the two leaving. Watching Jia Muzin, who used to be under his feet, climb to his head step by step, Jia Huiyan could imagine how he felt. He had been suffering for too long, and he didn't want to endure it anymore. That's not possible, is it? Jia Tiao hesitated, pondered for a moment and said, Xiao Chen, that kid is very powerful. Even Tang Yuansheng and Bai Songyan were defeated by him. How can the two of us defeat him? Jia Tuyao was a cautious person. He would never make a move before he was sure that he could win. Therefore, Jia Huiyan usually acted in the front, and he preferred to hide behind the scenes and plot. Jia Huiyan curled his lips disdainfully and sneered. He is only at the peak of level 2 demon venerable. He is not that powerful. Even if he can defeat Tang Yuansheng, it will be a narrow victory. As long as we find some powerful warriors, we can definitely kill him easily. But we haven't even found out his background. What if he has some powerful backers? What if someone comes to seek revenge after we kill him? If that happens, both sides will suffer, and even the Jia family will be killed. Jia Tuyao shook his head disapprovingly. Pa, he is just a cultivator from the mortal world. What backers can he have? Aren't you being too cautious? Jia Huiyan sneered. Silently, he thought, you are not cautious, you are just a coward. Jia Tiao showed the whites of his eyes and said, since you are so confident, why don't you do it yourself? Why do you need my help? But I advise you to be careful. Don't play with fire and burn yourself. If my grandpa finds out that you sent people to kill Xiao Chen and Jia Muzin, you will be kicked out of the family. I am not interested in taking this risk with you, bye-bye. Jia Tuyao curled up the corners of his mouth and swaggered out of the martial arts hall with his two subordinates. He believed that even if he wanted to kill Xiao Chen, he would have to use his wits. Fighting and killing were not his style. Damn it. Why are you pretending? When I get rid of them and become the head of the Jia family, you will be the first one I will deal with. Jia Huiyan stared at Jia Tiao's back and murmured to himself. At this moment, Xiao Chen and Jia Muzin had already walked far away, so they didn't know what had happened behind them. However, on the way back, Xiao Chen faintly felt that someone was secretly watching him. Xiao Chen's expression didn't change. He kept talking and laughing with Jia Muzin, but secretly, he released his spirit power and searched around. Although he was injured in the competition in the morning and hadn't fully recovered, it was a piece of cake for Xiao Chen to find a stalker. Soon, he found the stalker. Child lady boy, what are you doing sneakily hiding in the bushes? Come out now, don't wait for me to find you. Xiao Chen yelled at the bushes not far away, with a confident look. He had guessed that it might be the girl Xing who was following him. However, he didn't expect that this girl was so clumsy that she would hide in the bushes and easily expose her whereabouts. The bushes shook slightly, and then there was no more movement. You don't want to come out, do you? Xiao Chen directly walked in that direction and said, I will count to 3. If you don't come out by then, I don't mind letting you have a taste of flying lady boy. 1, 2. Just as he counted to 2, a rustling sound came from the bushes, and a person suddenly stood up, startling Jia Muzhen. How did you find out? I feel that I hit it pretty well. Little Miss Xing stood in the bushes in a daze as she looked at Xiao Chen, who was staring at her, and asked in confusion. Are you going to stand in the bushes and talk to me? Don't you feel uncomfortable being poked? Xiao Chen lowered his chin and pointed at the bushes as he asked with a smile that was not a smile. Miss Xing hesitated for a while, but still walked out. There were still a few leaves stuck to her hair, making her look silly and adorable. She grabbed Xiao Chen and asked anxiously, Tell me quickly. How did you know I was here? Chapter 1056. I say, can't you grow some brains? Xiao Chen glared at her in annoyance and said, The entire patch of grass is green. You're wearing white and hiding inside like a ghost. As long as you're not colorblind, it's very easy to see through you, alright? Xiao Chen spouted nonsense as if it was a matter of course. Since little Chick Xing didn't know that he was a cultivator, no matter how he tried to explain it, it would be enough. Little Chick Xing looked down at her clothes and then back at the grass. It seemed like it was really the case. She was instantly speechless. She didn't doubt Xiao Chen's words at all. She didn't even notice that the sky had darkened. There was no way she could tell if there were any other colors in the grass. All she felt was a huge sense of defeat. She stood there dumbly, not knowing what to say. By the way, what's the meaning of that green leaf on your head? Xiao Chen pointed at little Chick Xing's head and thought for a while with his chin in his hand. With a face of realization, he said, Oh, I understand. It must be because Ling Qinxue was stolen by me, so you want to put some green on your head in order to gain sympathy from others, right? You don't say, it's quite appropriate. You. Little Chick Xing's expression changed. She anxiously stomped her feet and didn't have time to explain. She quickly removed the leaves from her head and glared angrily at Xiao Chen. Her cheeks were puffed up with anger. What about you? Do you know how to speak properly? Xiao Chen glanced at little Chick Xing. He suddenly felt that this girl was quite cute when she was angry. If she could change back into female clothes, her appearance wouldn't lose to miss. Nothing. Important things must be repeated 3 times. Little Chick Xing said through gritted teeth. Pfft. Xiao Chen almost burst out laughing. What kind of F***king logic was this? He simply waved his hand and directly asked, All right, let's not talk about these useless things. Why are you looking for me? Don't tell me you're here to put on a show for me. I'm here to. Little girl Xing was a little flustered, her little eyes darting around. She never expected that she would be exposed, so she couldn't think of an excuse. Xiao Chen wasn't in a hurry. He was calm and unruffled as he looked at Miss Xing. From time to time, he would chat with Jia Muzhen. He looked very carefree. Miss Xing thought for a long time but still couldn't think of a suitable reason. She didn't dare to look at Xiao Chen's face, so she lowered her head more and more. Her gaze inadvertently fell on a small package tied to her waist. Inside the bag was the reward he had just received, 10 pieces of spiritual jade. Oh right. I'm here to ask for your spiritual jades. Hurry up and compensate me with the remaining 10 pieces of spiritual jades. Xing Miao suddenly thought of an excellent excuse. She immediately stretched out her hand and placed it in front of Xiao Chen as she spoke in a righteous manner. You're right. What the hell? Ridiculous. Xiao Chen pushed away little Lady Xing's hand and glared at her. How did I owe you spiritual jades? Speak clearly. Don't think that just because you're a transvestite, I won't dare to beat you up. Of course you owe me. Little Lady Xing angrily protested. Originally, with my strength, I could have won the external competition in the afternoon. That way, I would have gotten 20 pieces of spiritual jades. But you played tricks on me, causing me to only get half of it. Therefore, you must compensate me with the remaining 10 pieces of spiritual jades." After she finished speaking, little Lady Xing specially took out the bag of spiritual jades and waved it in front of Xiao Chen to increase the credibility of her words. "Deep Well Ice, you're too lacking in manners. You admitted defeat on your own, yet you're blaming me?" Xiao Chen looked at the spiritual jades in the bag in front of him. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat and he reached out to snatch it. "Ah! What are you doing?" Little Lady Xing was shocked and reached out to take it. However, Xiao Chen retracted his hand and turned to leave. As he walked, he said slowly, "I'm going to take these spiritual jades for myself. You won't be able to use them anyway, so don't waste them. I'll return them to you after some time." Xiao Chen was planning to obtain some spiritual jades to break through to the next cultivation level. Although 10 pieces were far from enough, it was still better than nothing. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat, right? You're too unreasonable. Who said that I can't use them? Hurry up and return the spiritual jades to me." Little Lady Xing was furious. She immediately rushed towards Xiao Chen and tried to snatch the bag back. She had originally planned to save the spiritual jades and wait until she had 100 pieces. Then, she could enter the honored realm and increase her cultivation level. In the end, she did not expect that it would be snatched away by Xiao Chen. "Since it's already in my hands, it's mine now. If you have the ability, come and take it." Xiao Chen saw that little Lady Xing was blocking his way, so he deliberately raised his right hand and chuckled. He was already very tall to begin with, and with the length of his arms, he was almost 2 meters tall. Normal girls wouldn't be able to reach him at all. Even if Miss Xing was taller than normal girls, she was still far behind Xiao Chen. As expected, little Lady Xing stood on her tiptoes and tried a few times. However, she discovered that no matter how she stretched out her hand, she could not touch the bag in Xiao Chen's hands. Instead, she received a mocking look from Xiao Chen. Instantly, she became angry and anxious. She didn't care about her dignity anymore. She directly flew towards Xiao Chen's body and pulled his right hand down with all her might. "Damn it, isn't it just 10 spiritual jades? Is there a need to be so desperate?" Xiao Chen really did not expect little Lady Xing to make such a move. Caught off guard, he was pushed backwards by her. Luckily, he managed to take a step in time to stabilize himself. Otherwise, he would have fallen flat on his back. However, Xiao Chen's right hand was still firmly held in the air. Although the bag containing the spiritual jades was shaking violently, it was not snatched away. Jia Muzhen, who was standing at the side, was also stunned. He did not expect little Lady Xing to be so bold. For such a small amount of spiritual jades, she dared to throw herself at Xiao Chen. Wasn't she too fierce? She was practically like a child. Stupid Xiao Chen. Smelly Xiao Chen. You scoundrel, return the spiritual jades to me. Woo woo. Little Lady Xing's eyes turned red as she cried out loud. She subconsciously clenched her fists and used all her strength to hit Xiao Chen's body. She said with an aggrieved voice, "These 10 spiritual jades are very important to me. You can't take them away. Otherwise, I won't be able to go to the honorable realm, woo woo woo." Hiss. Let's talk things out. Why are you crying for no reason? Xiao Chen was a little stunned as he looked at little Lady Xing, who had lost control of herself. Her body softly leaned against his body. Although the feeling was quite comfortable, Xiao Chen really could not stand a woman clinging to him and crying. After all, he did not have any deep grudges with little Lady Xing. Thus, when he saw her crying like a pear blossom, his heart inevitably softened. Most importantly, Xiao Chen had just been injured in the morning. Little Lady Xing had pounced on him and hit him a few times. His wound was already a little painful. However, looking at the current situation, he could only endure it for now. Chapter 1057. Sob sob sob. I don't care, I want to cry. If you don't return the spiritual jades to me, then I will perish together with you. Xing shook her head with all her might and hammered a few more times. She realized that Xiao Chen had no intention of letting go and could only hold on to his right hand with all her might. She cried and yelled at him. "Oh, all right, I will return it to you, all right? Hurry up and get down first. What is this? If someone sees this, they will misunderstand. Those who don't know might think that I like men." Xiao Chen sighed helplessly. Fortunately, after so many days of competition, everyone was exhausted and had gone back to rest. At this time, there was no one else passing by. Otherwise, if they saw this scene, they might really think that he was a pervert. "No. Give me the spiritual jades first, otherwise I will not go down." Xing Miao tugged at Xiao Chen's clothes unrelentingly. Xiao Chen was angry and amused at the same time. He shook his head and handed the pouch to Xing Miao. Here. Isn't it just 10 spiritual jades? This young master doesn't care about these things of yours. Hurry up and take them back." Xing Miao hurriedly grabbed the pouch tightly before jumping down from Xiao Chen's body. She opened the pouch and checked it a few times. After confirming that the spiritual jades were all there and that they hadn't been secretly exchanged, she finally relaxed and pouted. "Humph. Now that you have climbed up the big tree that is the Jia family, of course you don't care about these spiritual jades. However, to me, these are priceless treasures. Lady boy, young Master Xing, would like to ask you a question." Jia Muzin saw that Xing Miao had finally calmed down and couldn't help but ask in bewilderment. "Your Awakening Heavens sect is the leader of the demonic sects in the martial arts world. Furthermore, with your cultivation, if you want to go to the honorable realm to cultivate, the sect should be more than happy. Don't tell me that the sect leader won't provide spiritual jades to you?" He was indeed very surprised. From what Xing Miao had said, it seemed that if she wanted to go to the honorable realm, she would have to prepare spiritual jades herself. "What do you know?" Xing Miao tied the pouch again and put it back on her waist. However, after some thought, she took it off and stuffed it back into her clothes. She said with a sullen face, "In the Awakening Heavens sect, only the direct descendants have the right to enjoy the sect's resources. Everyone else has to provide the sect with their own value in exchange for spiritual jades or cultivation resources. We are a sect that emphasizes the survival of the fittest, unlike a large clan like the Jia family. You can send whoever you want to go. TSK, looks like you're having a hard time too." Xiao Chen smacked his lips and teased, "Why don't you stop staying in Awakening Heaven Gate and come over to be my assistant?" T. When the time comes, you can have as many spirit jades as you want. Xiao Chen felt that although this Xing chick was a little silly, her strength was still considered outstanding. If he could rope her in, she might be of great help in the future. "Don't even think about it. I won't help a rascal like you." Little girl Xing wrinkled her nose at Xiao Chen and pouted, "You always bully me. Just now, you purposely scared me and even stole my spiritual jades. Who knows if you will do something even more outrageous in the future? Besides, Awakening Heaven's sect has done me a great favor. I will absolutely not betray sect master. It's up to you whether you want to come or not. I'm just asking casually. I don't want to bring a crybaby like you who only knows how to cry when encountering something trivial. Otherwise, I'll be killed by your noise sooner or later." Xiao Chen shrugged and looked indifferent. In any case, it was just a sudden thought just now. He didn't expect that Chick Xing would listen to him obediently, so he didn't really care. "You. Isn't it all because of you?" Little Miss Xing recalled what had just happened and hurriedly wiped away the tears on her face. She pointed her finger at Xiao Chen and was so angry that she couldn't speak. "Don't talk about me. Since I'm still in a good mood, hurry up and go back to where you came from. Seeing a transvestite like you makes me feel annoyed." Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to talk to her anymore and waved his hand to dismiss her. "Smelly Xiao Chen, what's so great about you? Wait until I enter the honorable realm and become an honorable, I'll come back to teach you a lesson. Just you wait. Little girl Xing snorted angrily. She was afraid that Xiao Chen would change his mind and come to steal her spiritual jades again. Her figure flashed and she ran towards the nearby forest. After little Miss Xing left, Xiao Chen's breathing became chaotic. He couldn't hold it in any longer and coughed a few times while clutching his chest. He then spat out a mouthful of blood and his face became deathly pale. It was obvious that the injuries from the morning had acted up again. Xiao Chen. What's wrong? Jia Muzhen wanted to tease Xiao Chen a bit more, but when he turned around and saw the scene in front of him, he jumped in fright. He immediately took out a porcelain bottle from his robes and poured out a colorful healing pill. He then handed it to Xiao Chen. Come, eat this pill. This is a life-saving pill my grandfather gave me. It will definitely help your injuries. It's alright, don't waste the pill. Xiao Chen did not take Jia Muzhen's pill. Instead, he waved his hand and said, I've not fully recovered from the injuries I received this morning. That transvestite girl just hammered me a few times, so my internal organs were shaken. Let me recover first and then go back to rest. After speaking, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and rested for a while. His face finally regained some color. When he opened his eyes, he couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. Luckily, little Miss Xing was only fighting over the spiritual jades and didn't want to fight with him. Otherwise, based on his current condition, he might not even be able to defeat her. It's good that you're fine. You almost scared me to death just now. Let's go back quickly in case the transvestite comes looking for trouble again. Jia Muzhen heaved a sigh of relief and frowned. He looked around vigilantly before supporting Xiao Chen and walking towards his courtyard. However, what the two of them did not expect was that little Miss Xing did not go far. After she ran into the nearby forest, she hid and secretly observed Xiao Chen. Because Xiao Chen's injuries had relapsed, he had already retracted his divine sense. Therefore, he did not notice this situation. When little Miss Xing saw Xiao Chen vomit blood, her expression froze. She lowered her head and pondered for a while before carefully following after him. After returning to his room, Xiao Chen rested for an hour. Although he had suppressed his surging qi and blood and did not feel as uncomfortable as before, the stagnant injuries in his body still did not improve. Xiao Chen sighed deeply. He thought that the most important thing right now was to quickly find enough spiritual jades to increase his cultivation level. If he could increase his cultivation level, his injuries would naturally heal without medicine. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen felt that if he wanted to obtain spiritual jades, the most direct way was to go to the heavenly jade mine. Only there, he could absorb spiritual jades at the fastest speed and in the largest amount to increase his cultivation level. Chapter 1058. However, Xiao Chen felt that this matter had to be hidden from Jia Muzhen and Jia Hongyong for the time being. It was not that he did not trust them, but he did not want to expose his identity as a cultivator for the time being. In any case, absorbing spiritual jades for his own advancement would definitely harm the interests of the Jia family. If the family head found out, he would definitely be held responsible. If Jia Muzhen and Jia Hongyong did not know his true purpose, then even if the situation of his cultivation was exposed, they would not be implicated. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen got up and walked out of his room. Seeing that Jia Muzhen and the girls happened to be chatting in the courtyard, Xiao Chen strode over and said, Muzhen, since the competition is over, I plan to find time to go to Tianyu Mine again. Jia Muzhen was stunned and asked doubtfully, why are you going to Tianyu Mine again? I want to investigate the information about my father in detail. I left in a hurry the last time, so I didn't read it carefully. I want to take a look again and see if I can find any clues. Xiao Chen found a very suitable reason. Tian Souring pulled on Xiao Chen's sleeve and said with a face full of worry, Husband Xiao Chen, you are so seriously injured now, why are you still running around? Why don't you stay with the Jia family to recover first? Anyway, the information is in the computer, it will not grow legs and run away. Yes, Xiao Chen. Now that your strength has not fully recovered, you may not even be able to control the flying sword smoothly. Moreover, the periphery of Tianyu Mine is full of dangers, we all know that. If you go now, what if you encounter the demonic spiders from last time? Cheng Menjing was also a little worried. She thought for a moment and said, how about this, we go with you. If there is danger, we can take care of each other. Ling Er and Ling Qinxue also nodded in agreement. They both felt that they could not let Xiao Chen take risks alone. Although their strength was not high, as the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. If it came to a critical moment, they could also contribute some strength, right? Souring and the others are right. If you go now, it is indeed a little dangerous. Jia Muzin smiled and said, but don't worry, I have a good idea. You don't need to go there personally, and you can look up the information. I happen to have a laptop in my room. I'll call Jia Hongyong later and ask him to send me all the information in the mine. After that, Jia Muzin immediately took out his phone and was about to dial Jia Hongyong's number, but he was stopped by Xiao Chen. Wait. Xiao Chen held down Jia Muzin's hand that was about to dial and said awkwardly, you don't have to call him. I want to go to the mine. There's something else I need to do, What kind of things can only be done in the mine? Jia Muzin was startled, and asked in astonishment. This. Xiao Chen hesitated for a while and finally made up his mind. He said frankly, actually, I want to go to the heavenly jade mine and use the spiritual jades to heal my injuries. At the same time, I can also use them to cultivate. So that's how it is. You should have told me earlier. With our relationship, what's the point of hiding it? You're treating me like an outsider. Jia Muzin understood and looked at Xiao Chen with blame. Xiao Chen scratched his head and explained with a smile, in any case, this is an act of using public office for private gain. You've just become the heir of the family. I'm afraid that I'll cause you some unnecessary trouble, so I didn't tell you the truth at the beginning. Jia Muzin shook his head and said sincerely, Big brother Xiao, let's not beat around the bush. I basically relied on you to become the heir of the family. If there's such a day, and I have to choose between the glory of the family or the friendship of my brothers, then I'll definitely choose you, my good brother. Thank you. Xiao Chen was also a little touched. He didn't know what to say for a while, so he could only pat Jia Muzin's shoulder heavily. This kind of heartfelt words should only be said once between brothers. Jia Muzin knew that Xiao Chen had already understood what he meant, so he changed the topic and said, but since you're going, I have to tell Jia Hongyong in advance so that he can send someone to pick you up and arrange a place for you to recuperate. Oh. That's good too. I'll set off after the banquet. It's not easy to attract attention in the dead of night. Xiao Chen nodded and agreed. Jia Muzin walked to the side to make a phone call. Xiao Chen turned to Cheng Menjing and said, young miss, it's been hard on you. These few days, you and Sour will stay with the Jia family. I'll be at the mine. With Jia Hongyong looking after me, there won't be any problems. I'll come back after a few days when my body recovers. Alright, then be careful. Don't be too impulsive. Cheng Menjing said. She heard that Xiao Chen had dared to talk back to Jia Jinyan. Although the old family head was magnanimous and didn't take it to heart, it still made her break out in a cold sweat. In the past, Cheng Menjing always had the temperament of a spoiled young miss and didn't have a good attitude towards Xiao Chen. Since the sudden big change and after a period of escape with Xiao Chen, her character gradually became more stable and tolerant. However, from time to time, she would still quarrel with Xiao Chen. Ever since he set foot on the road to the inner Wulin, all kinds of sudden incidents occurred. Sometimes, when Xiao Chen couldn't take care of everything, he would ask Cheng Menjing to take care of the other girls. Cheng Menjing believed that she was Xiao Chen's real girlfriend. Therefore, every time she agreed, she got along well with Sour, Ling Qinxue, and Ling Er. Her care and concern for Xiao Chen also quietly increased. It had been a long time since she threw a spoiled temper. Sigh, the Jia family is so boring. It's not fun at all. Jia Muzin, that four-eyed guy, is also boring. Now, Xiao Chen's husband is going to be away for a few days. It seems like Sister Sour's days are going to be tough. Tian Sour sighed helplessly. She gazed into the distance with a face full of melancholy. The inner Wulin was really too boring. She was starting to miss the rich and colorful life in the secular world. Sour, it's not right for you to say that. It sounds like Ling, and Qianxue are ganging up to bully you. Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes mischievously and poked Tian Sour's nose in annoyance. That's right. We usually treat you so well. I didn't expect you to say such heartless words. It's too sad. It seems like I have to teach you a good lesson this time. Ling rolled up her sleeves, revealing her white and smooth arms. She gave Ling Qianxue and Cheng Menjing a look and said with a smirk, Qianxue, Menjing, let's go together and give Sour a taste of some pain. Okay. I've wanted to teach her a lesson for a long time. Cheng Menjing was exactly what she wanted. She agreed immediately and pounced forward. Her left hand grabbed Tian Sour's wrist and her right hand huffed and scratched Tian Sour's small waist. Chapter 1059. Ha ha ha. Sister Menjing, stop teasing me. I know I was wrong. Io, ha ha ha. Tian Souring was ambushed and laughed until she was out of breath. She wanted to break free from Cheng Menjing's claws, but she was not as strong as Cheng Menjing. She could only laugh while begging for mercy. Ling Er also joined the battle at this time and went straight to Tian Souring's armpit. She laughed and gasped, and tears were about to come out. Io. Help, Qianxue, help me. Tian Souring couldn't break free no matter how hard she tried. She could only ask for help from Ling Qianxue, who was usually the most obedient. Seeing that Ling Qianxue didn't bully her for a long time, she quickly shouted for help. Cheng Menjing also turned her head to see why Ling Qianxue didn't join in. As a result, she found that this little girl had plucked a dog's tail grass from some corner of the garden and then went straight to Tian Souring. She took off her shoes and socks and kept stroking the dog's tail grass on the soles of her feet. Ah. Help. It's so itchy. Ha ha ha. Tian Souring really collapsed this time. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she protested, Qianxue. Ha ha ha, you are too two-faced. Io. Looking at the scene of the girls playing together, Xiaochen couldn't help but feel a strong sense of happiness in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to find his father's whereabouts, he couldn't wait to live such a leisurely life for the rest of his life. Xiaochen, I have already asked Jia Hongyong to arrange the mine. You can go to the entrance of the mine where our first match will be held tonight. He will be waiting to pick you up there. Jia Musen put down his phone and walked over from the side. Okay. Xiaochen nodded and said, if there is any situation, I will contact you again. Jia Musen agreed. He looked up and saw that the sky was already dark, so he said, it's almost time. Shouldn't we go to the banquet together? Go early and finish early. You still have to hurry tonight. Let's go. Xiaochen turned his head and called out to the girls who were still playing, ladies, stop playing. Hurry up and clean up. We are going to eat a feast. Today, we are the victors. Don't let others laugh at us. Cheng Menjing was the first to stop when she heard this. Ling Qianxue and Ling also supported Tian Souring and stopped playing. The three girls helped Souring tidy up his clothes and changed into a set of beautiful clothes before following Xiao Chen and Jia Musen to the guest hall. There was nothing special about the Jia clan's banquet. It was nothing more than a speech by the Jia clan's patriarch, Jia Jinyan, to congratulate Jia Musen for winning the championship. Then, he said a few words of encouragement to the other disciples. He also thanked the disciples of the other sects who had come to participate in the competition. He knew that after a day of physical exertion, everyone was basically starving. Without saying much, he announced the official start of the banquet. Everyone buried their heads and ate bitterly for a while before the atmosphere gradually relaxed. The disciples of the Jia clan chatted with the foreign aide and today's guests. They joked with each other from time to time. The atmosphere was very harmonious. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, many middle-level members of the Jia clan knew that Jia Musen had won the championship. They took the initiative to come over and toast to him. Even people from other sects came over to curry favor with him. Everyone knew that although Jia Musen was only an heir now, it was only a matter of time before he became the patriarch. They might as well strike while the iron was hot and build a good relationship with him first. He would definitely be useful in the future. Jia Musen's alcohol tolerance was relatively low. However, when others came to toast him, it was not appropriate for him to decline. He could only chat with them, crack some jokes, drink a few cups with them, and send them away. Moreover, he was very clear that after he officially took office, there would definitely be more such social engagements. He couldn't avoid them even if he wanted to. It was better to practice now. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen, who was sitting beside Jia Musen, was chatting with a few girls. Those girls seemed to be reluctant to let him leave. They pulled Xiao Chen and whispered their heartfelt feelings. From time to time, they would tease him and flirt with him. Even the young mistress, who was usually rather reserved, relaxed her nerves after drinking a few glasses of wine. She started to flirt with Xiao Chen, openly showing off their affection. Just as Xiao Chen's table was bustling with noise and joy, there were 2 people not far away who were staring at him. One of them was Miss Xing, who was sitting in the guest area. She looked at Xiao Chen with a complicated expression. Although there was no change in her expression, there was a hint of solemnity. The other person was the ashen-faced Jia Huiyan. He was currently glaring fiercely at Xiao Chen and Tian Sotsong. Every time the 2 of them unknowingly displayed their affection, he would gloomily gulp down a few glasses of wine. However, Xiao Chen and Tian Souring seemed to be unaware of it. The more Jia Huiyan looked, the angrier he got. He wanted nothing more than to rush over and slap him to death. Huiyan, don't drink so much. Upon seeing this, Jia Yubian sighed. He patted Jia Huiyan's shoulder and consoled him. I know that you are feeling very unhappy about losing in this large competition and not being able to become the successor. However, as you can see now, Jia Musen and Xiao Chen are in the limelight. Why do you need to provoke them at this time when the wind and the waves are the fiercest? People will definitely gossip. Father, I understand what you mean. However, I just can't take this lying down. Jia Musen clenched his fists tightly and said unwillingly, Jia Musen is a bastard. He has no parents and is a coward. Why should he be the family head? How much has he contributed to the Jia family compared to me? Jia Huiyan raised his head and gulped down another cup of wine. His bloodshot eyes stared fixedly at Xiao Chen. Suppressing his anger, he said, and that brat surnamed Xiao, he actually dared to flirt with my fiancée in public. He clearly doesn't take me seriously. I must King kill him. Otherwise, I won't be able to dispel the anger in my heart. Isn't it easy to kill Xiao Chen? We just need to find an opportunity to get rid of him. Jia Yubian's expression was gloomy. His gaze constantly wandered between Xiao Chen and Jia Musen. He said sinisterly, however, we can't touch Jia Musen for now. That brat is now a big shot in the Jia family. Furthermore, he is highly regarded by your grandfather. If we act ruthlessly against him now, it will be too conspicuous. We can only act from another angle. Although Jia Yubian was also very dissatisfied with Jia Musen and his group, he was still a generation older and had much more experience in life. Therefore, he wasn't as impulsive as Jia Huiyan and knew how to judge the situation. Father, could it be, you already have a plan? Jia Huiyan was stunned when he heard this. Although he was drunk, his mind was still quite agile. He could hear the hidden meaning in Jia Yubian's words and couldn't wait to ask. It can't be considered a plan. It's just a preliminary idea. Jia Yubian withdrew his gaze from Jia Musen and said indifferently, however, we definitely can't implement it now. We still have to see how Jia Musen performs in the future. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I also don't want to shed all pretense of cordiality. In short, let's just wait and see. Chapter 1060. Jia Yubian picked up a cup of wine on the table and drank it in one gulp. A sinister look flashed through his eyes. However, it was blocked by the wine cup, so no one noticed. When he put down the wine cup again, there was no trace of it. Okay, I will listen to you. Jia Huiyan immediately nodded his head, and a glimmer of hope ignited in his heart. Since his father had spoken and was willing to help, then the position of patriarch would fall into his hands sooner or later. With this thought, he was not so angry anymore. He looked at Jia Musen and the others as if he was pitying people who were about to die. Jia Yubian and Jia Huiyan chatted a bit more. Seeing that Jia Huiyan had calmed down, Jia Yubian picked up his wine cup and led him to Jia Musen's table. After all, the other members of the Jia clan had all gone over to toast Jia Musen. Even Jia Yuto had a smile on his face as he drank a cup of wine with Jia Musen. Jia Yuto felt that as an elder, no matter how unwilling he was, he still had to put on an act. After the banquet ended smoothly, Xiaochen returned to his room and packed his luggage. He found the girls and said goodbye to them one by one. He also said a few words to Jia Musen before sneaking out of the back door of the Jia clan. Xiaochen originally wanted to use the flying sword as a means of transportation. However, after trying a few times, he discovered that he was unable to stabilize the sword due to his injuries. He could only helplessly give up on this idea and run to the heavenly jade mine. If he accidentally fell off the flying sword, it would be too much of a loss. However, before running far, Xiaochen felt that someone was sneakily following him from behind. Even without turning around to confirm, Xiaochen knew that the person following him was without a doubt little Chick Xing. Right now, only she would care about his whereabouts and never forget to follow him. Xiaochen did not mind. He was almost used to little Chick Xing's existence. Anyway, his strength had not recovered and he could not do anything to her. If she liked him, then let her follow him. If he encountered any danger, she would be a good bodyguard. After running for about half an hour, Xiaochen used the Big Dipper to determine the direction of the heavenly jade mine. He estimated that he would arrive about 10 kilometers to the east, which was about 10 minutes away. He could not help but feel a little more relaxed. Xiaochen felt that the Chick Xing was still hanging behind him, not too far away, so he decided to play a little joke with her to tease her. After quickly running forward for a distance, Xiaochen's figure moved slightly and he quietly set up an illusion on the side of the road. Then, he slowed down his footsteps and released his divine sense. He watched as little girl Xing slowly caught up to him from behind. Feeling that the distance between the two of them was about right, Xiaochen suddenly turned around and looked behind him. Little girl Xing jumped in fright. In her shock, she hurriedly dodged and hid in the forest by the side of the road, trying to hide behind a large tree. Bang! Ouch! A muffled sound rang out, followed by a blood-curdling screech. Xiaochen watched as she clutched her head and squatted on the ground. A mischievous smile appeared on his face as he turned around and continued on his way. Ouch, it hurts. Little Miss Xing rubbed her red and swollen forehead as she stared at the culprit in front of her, a big tree. How could I have made a mistake? It should have been an empty space, right? How strange. Little Miss Xing muttered to herself. She was very puzzled. Just now, she clearly saw the position of the big tree before dodging. She did not know what happened, but she unexpectedly bumped into it. Could it be that she was too tired? Seeing that Xiaochen's figure was getting further and further away and was about to disappear, little Miss Xing could not be bothered to think too much. She used her movement technique and quickly chased after him. Staring at Xiaochen's faintly discernible figure, a thought suddenly flashed through little Miss Xing's mind. Could it be that Xiaochen had done something and purposely made her bump into the tree? However, little Miss Xing quickly rejected this thought. Even though Xiaochen's strength was higher than hers, it was impossible for him to make the tree move. That would be too heaven-defying. Furthermore, he was currently seriously injured. It was even more unrealistic. Quickly arriving at the entrance of the heavenly jade mine, Xiaochen looked around and released his divine sense to make sure that there was no one else following him other than little Miss Xing. Thus, he imitated the cuckoo bird's call 3 times. This was the contact signal that Jia Muzhen and Jia Hongyuan had previously agreed on. Hero Xiao, I'm here. Jia Hongyong had been waiting inside the mine for a long time. When he heard the signal, he immediately ran out and waved his hand enthusiastically at Xiaochen. Hello big brother Jia Hongyong. Jia Muzhen should have told you that I will be staying in the mine for a few days. I'll have to trouble you with everything. Xiaochen walked over with a smile and cupped his hands towards Jia Hongyong as he spoke politely. Hero Xiao is too polite. You are an honored guest invited by young Master Mu's senator naturally. You are also an honored guest of mine, Jia Hongyong. It is my honor to be able to serve you and young Master Mu's son. Previously, the mine was only stabilized because of you. Jia Hongyong quickly waved his hand and said respectfully. He was now very glad that he had bet on the right treasure during the chaos in the mine. Although Jia Muzhen had once run away from home in dire straits, he was now the rightful successor to the family head. Moreover, he already knew that his nephew had become Jia Muzhen's confidant. He couldn't help but feel even happier. It seemed that his family would definitely prosper in the future. According to the rules, in the Jia family, only the descendants of the elders could be considered direct descendants. Jia Renzhong was a collateral descendant. Since both his parents had passed away, he could only follow Jia Hongyong, the deputy steward of the mine. Normally, he would be looked down upon. However, in the future, Jia Renzhong's descendants could also become direct descendants and enjoy the treatment of direct descendants. Even if Jia Hongyong was still only a steward and his identity would not change, with Jia Renzhong's filial nature, he would definitely let Jia Hongyong enjoy the honor. After suffering for so many years, this time, he could finally turn things around. Moreover, even without Jia Renzhong, with Jia Muzhen becoming the successor to the family head, Jia Hongyong felt that his position as the substitute steward of the mine would soon become the official one. Therefore, he was extremely respectful to Jia Muzhen's right-hand man, Xiaochen, and did not dare to slight him in the slightest. Alright, let's not talk too much. First, bring me to the mine and then get me some spiritual jades. You don't have to look for those polished ones. Just bring me the raw stones. Xiaochen smiled and went straight to the point. He didn't want to waste time. Since he was already here, he had to quickly recover from his injuries. If he wanted to chat, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Alright, I have already prepared the car. This way, please follow me. Jia Hongyong understood what Xiaochen meant. He immediately made an inviting gesture and brought him through the gate of the mine. They got into the car and prepared to go to the main mining area. Chapter 1061. Why did this scoundrel come to the heavenly jade mine? After the two of them walked far away, little girl Xing walked out of the shadows while muttering to herself. Although she was a bit confused, she still followed them. However, she hadn't even taken a few steps when she suddenly heard the sound of a car starting up. Her heart instantly jumped and she quickened her steps to the entrance of the mine. Just as she was about to look for the source of the sound, she was shocked to see an off-road vehicle kicking up a cloud of dust and speeding towards the east. Cough cough cough. Caught off guard, little girl Xing choked on a few mouthfuls of dust. She covered her mouth and frowned. Although she was extremely unwilling, she still used her movement technique and followed the direction of the off-road vehicle. Xiaochen sat comfortably in the car and played with his phone while using his divine sense to monitor little girl Xing's movements. He saw that she was coughing from the dust and her face was covered in a layer of black dust. Her originally handsome and fair face now looked like a refugee. He couldn't help but feel that it was a bit funny. Damn Xiaochen, you big bastard. As a cultivator, you actually have to ride in a car. I'm so angry. Cough cough cough. Little girl Xing stared at the off-road vehicle and curled her lips as she complained. But after saying a few words, her throat was choked by the dust. She quickly took out a handkerchief and covered her mouth. She didn't dare to say another word and could only silently follow the off-road vehicle. Her heart was extremely angry. After driving for another 10 minutes, the off-road vehicle arrived at the main mining area. Jia Hongyong got off the vehicle and brought Xiao Chen into a room that had already been cleaned up. He personally brought over a large pile of unpolished spirit jade ore. He knew that Xiao Chen was about to use it, so he didn't say anything and simply took his leave. Although he was also very curious as to what Xiao Chen needed so many spirit jade ore for, since Xiao Chen wasn't willing to reveal it, Jia Hongyong didn't ask anymore. In any case, it was young Master Jia Muzin's orders. He only needed to take care of the people. What does Xiao Chen need so many spirit jades for? Could it be, to treat his injuries? At this moment, little Miss Xing had already rushed to the vicinity. She found a secluded place to hide and happened to see Jia Hongyong give a bag of spiritual jades to Xiao Chen. She felt a little puzzled. When she saw the scene of Xiao Chen vomiting blood, she wanted to report it to Elder Sunday. However, just as she was about to make the call, she stopped. Little Miss Xing was a little uncertain. In her memory, every time Xiao Chen was injured, he would recover very quickly. In fact, when he was in the demonic star sect, he could even help her heal. Filled with suspicions, young Lady Xing didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. After hesitating for a long time, she put away her phone. If the information was wrong and Xiao Chen recovered after reporting, she would be scolded by Elder Sun again. That would be too unlucky. After calming down and carefully observing for a while, little Miss Xing saw that Xiao Chen had placed all the spiritual jades by his side. Then, he closed his eyes and seemed to be circulating his mental cultivation method. Just like how he usually cultivated, he sat cross-legged quietly. The spiritual jades by his side also emitted a faint glow. Time passed minute by minute. Just as little Miss Xing was starting to feel a little impatient and wanted to go absent-minded, she suddenly realized that the glow of the spiritual jades by Xiao Chen's side was much fainter and fainter. What situation was this? Little Miss Xing immediately focused her attention and focused on observing the spiritual jades. She saw that after the last bit of light from the spiritual jades dissipated, the spiritual jades that had almost turned into rocks had all shattered and turned into a pile of powder that scattered on the ground. Little Miss Xing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. It couldn't be. Could it be that Xiao Chen was using spiritual jades to cultivate? Why had she never heard of such a cultivation method before? Could it be that the mental cultivation method he cultivated was different from others? Just as little Miss Xing was at a loss, Xiao Chen let out a breath of turbid air and opened his eyes. He looked at the shattered spiritual jades around him and shook his head helplessly. The grade of these spiritual jades was too low and there were too few of them. The energy stored within the spiritual jades was simply not enough for him to cultivate and break through. Even his injuries weren't able to heal much. It seemed like he had to find more high-grade spiritual jades. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen cleaned up the spiritual jades in his room and put on his clothes before walking towards the mine. Before he walked far, Xiao Chen felt that little Miss Xing was hiding behind a rock not too far away. She was sneakily staring at him. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He didn't set up an illusion just now, so little Miss Xing must have seen the scene of him using the spiritual jades to cultivate. What should he do with her now? Since this last knew his secret, it was actually very dangerous to keep her here. However, he couldn't kill her to silence her. Towards this classmate of little Miss Xing, Xiao Chen had mixed feelings. Although Xiao Chen had set up an illusion during the competition and smashed the little person to scare her, he didn't really have the intention to kill her. Even if he snatched her spiritual jades, it was just a joke. In the end, he still gave it back. No matter what, when they were being chased by Ma Wuxia, she had also saved him and the young Mississippi. How could he make a move on his benefactor? Xiao Chen shook his head. Forget it. Since little Miss Xing didn't report this matter to her sect, then he should just ignore her for now. The most important thing now was to find high-grade spiritual jades to cultivate with. Hey! Who are you, kid? This is a restricted area of the mine. You are not allowed to wander around. Hurry up and get lost. Just as Xiao Chen was deep in thought and walking forward, he was suddenly blocked by a burly guard. The guard stared at him with widened eyes and berated him loudly. Oh, I was just walking around and wanted to see the scenery. Can't I? Xiao Chen was a little depressed and said casually. He also blamed himself for being too careless. He forgot to inform Jia Hongyong before coming out. This was a little troublesome. Nonsense. This is a high-grade mine. It's all mountains and rocks. What scenery is there to see? The guard rolled his eyes in annoyance and sized up Xiao Chen's attire. Seeing that he didn't look like one of the miners nearby, he waved his hand and impatiently dismissed him. All right, hurry up and go back to where you came from. Don't wander around here blindly, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. If that's the case, I'm going to the high-grade mine. You don't need to care so much. Just pretend that you haven't seen me. When the time comes, Jia Hongyong will explain it to you. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to talk to the guard. He shrugged his shoulders and walked towards the mine. Unexpectedly, he was stopped by the guard again. You have quite a lot of guts, huh? Didn't you hear what I said? You even dare to use Deputy Steward Jia to threaten me. Are you itching for a beating? See how I will deal with you. The tall and sturdy guard grabbed Xiao Chen's collar and clenched his fist, ready to punch him. Chapter 1062. Jia Xiaolu. Hurry up and let go. Before the guard could swing his fist, he heard a roar coming from afar. Then, he was kicked away. Jia Hongyong appeared in front of Xiao Chen angrily. He pointed at Jia Xiaolu, who had been kicked to the ground, and scolded, I think you're the one with the guts. Do you not want to work here anymore? How dare you offend my esteemed guest? If you don't want to work here, just tell me and I'll kick you out immediately. This. Deputy Steward Jia, I'm here to supervise today, right? Just now, I saw him acting suspiciously, wandering around here, so I stopped him. I didn't know he was your guest. Otherwise, why would I be disrespectful to him? Jia Xiaolu retorted with an aggrieved expression as he rubbed his butt that had been kicked. Cut the crap, get lost. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu, then turned to Xiao Chen and said respectfully, Hero Xiao, I'm sorry, I didn't teach my men well. They're too insensible. Please don't lower yourself to their level. It's fine. Actually, I was in the wrong too. After all, this is the place you are in charge of. I should have told you before entering the mine. Xiao Chen waved his hand, not minding it too much. In fact, Jia Xiaolu could not be said to have done anything wrong. He was just doing his duty. Otherwise, if anyone could come and go as they pleased, the spiritual jades would have been stolen long ago. Hero Xiao, you're so forgiving. Jia Hongyong did not boast because of this. He still bowed humbly and said, You're going to the mine, right? Do as you please, do as you please. I'll go and explain to the guard now, lest there be any more misunderstandings and delay Hero Zhao's business. After that, Jia Hongyong dragged Jia Xiaolu, who had just gotten up, to a corner not far away. It seemed like he was going to lecture him. Xiao Chen couldn't stop him in time. He smiled helplessly and blamed himself in his heart. After all, he was the one who acted recklessly and caused the loyal Jia Xiaolu to be reprimanded. He was too embarrassed. It seemed that he would have to be more careful in the future. Thinking of his own thoughts, Xiao Chen turned around and walked into the mine. On the other side of the forest, Xing's head popped out. She blinked her eyes and looked in his direction. Seeing that Xiao Chen's figure had already disappeared into the mine, little Miss Xing thought for a moment. Taking advantage of the fact that there was no one guarding the entrance of the mine, she decisively chased after Xiao Chen. She wanted to see what exactly Xiao Chen was going to do. Jia Hongyong was scolding Jia Xiaolu, while Jia Xiaoyu's head was lowered. Neither of them noticed that a pretty figure flashed by and entered the mine. "Deputy manager, I really didn't do it on purpose. I know you said that a guest was coming, so I stopped him. I was afraid that he would sneak into the mine and disturb your guest," Jia Xiaolu said with a bitter expression. "What guest are you talking about? How come I didn't know that a guest was coming? Did anyone enter the mine just now?" Jia Hongyong snorted and looked coldly at Jia Xiaolu as he asked expressionlessly. That man just now." Jia Xiaolu was startled. He wanted to argue, but he saw Jia Hongyong looking at him strangely. He immediately swallowed the second half of his sentence. "Which man?" Jia Hongyong asked again slowly. If this brat still didn't understand, then he had to take some measures. Jia Xiaolu didn't know what suddenly happened, but he suddenly realized something and said, "Yes, yes, yes. No guest came, and no one entered the mine. I didn't sleep well last night, so my eyes were playing tricks on me." You're smart. Remember, don't say things you shouldn't say, and don't look at things you shouldn't look at, or else. Jia Hongyong didn't continue and gave him a, look. I know. That. "Deputy manager, if there's nothing else, I'll continue to guard the entrance of the mine. Don't worry, I won't say anything." Jia Xiaolu couldn't help but shiver. He immediately lowered his head and ran to the entrance of the high-grade mine. He stood there obediently and didn't move, just like when no one was around. Jia Hongyong saw this and nodded in satisfaction. He looked into the depths of the mine, but it was dark and he couldn't see anything. He didn't want to know why Xiao Chen ran into the mine, so he turned around and walked to his room, quickly disappearing. Xiao Chen didn't know the conversation between the two people outside. He followed the dim light of the mine and walked straight into the depths of the mine. The deeper he went, the narrower the tunnel became. There were also some places where water was seeping out. Xiao Chen guessed that this mine had been dug not long ago, so the walls had not been reinforced. From time to time, there would be dirt falling from above. Although the mine was very simple, Xiao Chen felt that the surrounding spiritual energy was getting thicker and thicker. It was obvious that there was a lot of high-grade spiritual jade stored in this mine. Moreover, he had specially used his divine sense to check. The load-bearing framework around the mine was very reasonable. Even if he dug for 3 to 5 years, it wouldn't collapse. The safety factor could be considered to be international standards. After walking for a while, Xiao Chen finally found a relatively clean and suitable place. He sat down and planned to cultivate here. Since it was already late at night, and with Jia Hongyong's greeting, there definitely wouldn't be any miners coming in to dig. Not far behind him was that little girl Xing, so Xiao Chen didn't have to worry about being seen by others. After sitting down cross-legged, Xiao Chen began to circulate his mental cultivation method. Gradually, the spiritual jades embedded in the nearby rock seemed to resonate and emitted a strange light. The light was strong but not dazzling. It was obvious that the spiritual jades were of much higher quality than the normal spiritual jades that Jia Hongyong had given him. The energy of the spirit jade gradually turned into threads that were invisible to the naked eye, surrounding Xiao Chen. As the speed at which he circulated his mental cultivation method increased, those threads were like a silkworm cocoon, tightly wrapping around his body. Little girl Xing, who was hiding nearby, was scared silly. She had never seen such a scene in her life. Although she couldn't see any changes in Xiao Chen's body, she could see the continuous light emitting from the surrounding rocks. She could also feel the strong waves of energy continuously surging towards Xiao Chen's location. Xiao Chen didn't care about the situation around him at all. He continued to crazily absorb the threads of energy around him. The seemingly inexhaustible energy continuously flowed into his body. He could feel the injuries in his body gradually recovering, and there was a feeling that he was about to break through. After an unknown amount of time, the light emitted by the spiritual jades gradually weakened. It was obvious that the energy was about to be completely absorbed by Xiao Chen. Pang! Finally, a larger spiritual jade directly shattered due to the lack of spiritual energy. It became a useless piece of jade and fell from the cracks in the rocks. When it hit the ground, it turned into powder. Chapter 1063. Coincidentally, the place where the spirit jade had fallen was quite close to little Miss Xing. She was originally concentrating her attention on the spirit jade when she suddenly heard a crisp explosion. She almost jumped up in fright. Before she could react, the other spirit jades near Xiao Chen had all been sucked dry. Peng! Peng peng! The sound of the spirit jades exploding rose and fell one after another, and the fine sand began to rustle down. The originally spacious and ventilated cave was gradually filled with the smell of dust. Other than the spirit jades, large chunks of soil began to fall down. Normally, when the miners were working, they would stop digging after digging out a few spirit jades. This was to ensure the miners' safety and prevent the cave from collapsing. However, the rate at which the spirit jades were exploding was simply too fast. Furthermore, it was the middle of the night and no one had come to reinforce the spirit jades. Thus, after a series of explosions, many areas of the cave had collapsed. The entire cave looked like it was on the verge of collapse. Xiao Chen. Hurry and leave this place, the cave is about to collapse. Little Miss Xing saw that the situation was not good and could no longer care about anything else. She revealed herself and shouted at Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen did not seem to hear little Miss Xing's words. He continued to sit there cross-legged without moving. He continued to absorb the energy from the spirit jades without the slightest intention of stopping. Do you not want your life anymore? Even if you want to cultivate and level up, you have to first, Aya. Little Miss Xing was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. She stomped her feet and rushed towards Xiao Chen. She planned to drag him out of the cave first. However, contrary to little Miss Xing's expectations, before she could even get close to Xiao Chen, she was sent flying by a strong gust of qi. She landed heavily on the ground a distance away. Xiao Chen did not move at all. His eyes were tightly shut as he crazily absorbed the energy from the spirit jades. He was completely unaware of the situation around him. Boom! Without the support of the spiritual jades, the rocks in the mine finally collapsed under the pressure of the load-bearing frame. The area where Xiao Chen was located was the most severely damaged. Countless pieces of rubble fell down. Little girl Xing could only watch as a slightly larger piece of spiritual jade smashed onto Xiao Chen's head. Then, he fainted without a sound. If it was a normal rock, it would be useless to a cultivator like Xiao Chen. However, spirit jades were different. They were incomparably hard. Even with Yuan Qi protection, they could break through. Ouch! That hurts. Lady Xing had just gotten up when she was smashed by the rubble a few times. There were quite a few wounds on her body. However, because she was far away, her injuries were not as serious as Xiao Chen's. Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen, are you all right? Seeing Xiao Chen's face covered in blood and unconscious on the pile of rubble, little Miss Xing was at a loss. She tried calling out to Xiao Chen, but there was no response from Xiao Chen. She could only stand there in a daze. She didn't know if she should go up and check on Xiao Chen's injuries or abandon him and run for her life. After hesitating and struggling for a while, young Lady Xing decided to stay. She felt that she couldn't let Xiao Chen die here alone. After all, elder son's orders were for her to keep an eye on Xiao Chen. She couldn't let him die. If he left Xiao Chen here and went back alone, he would definitely be scolded to death. Forget it, I'll just treat it as doing a good deed every day. I hope this stinking scoundrel will treat me better in the future. Little girl Xing encouraged herself and finally decided to save Xiao Chen. However, when little Miss Xing walked in the direction of Xiao Chen, she realized that the passage between the two of them was already filled with rubble. She couldn't cross it at all. Furthermore, she didn't dare to use her demonic energy to blast the rubble away. If the vibrations caused the mine to collapse again, she would lose her life here. Gritting her teeth, little Miss Xing endured the pain on her body and carefully walked over to the pile of rubble. She used her hands to move the rubble away. After spending a lot of effort, she finally cleared a path towards Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, how are you?" When she came to Xiao Chen's side, little Miss Xing realized that his eyes were tightly shut and he was lying motionless on the ground. She squatted down and gently pushed his body, but there was still no reaction. Little Miss Xing's mind was in a mess. She was worried and afraid. Her little face was pale and she said with a sobbing tone, "Xiao Chen, you, don't scare me. You're already a martial honor expert. You can't be crushed to death by a few rocks, right? What should I do if you die? How am I going to explain this to elder son when I return?" Just as little Miss Xing was panicking and at a loss of what to do, Xiao Chen's body suddenly twitched. Then, there was no more movement. Little Miss Xing was shocked and hurriedly reached out to feel his breath. After holding her breath for a long time, she felt a weak heat. It was Xiao Chen's breath. "That's great." Little Miss Xing let out a long sigh and instantly felt more at ease. She muttered, "I just knew that a baddie like you wouldn't die so easily. Stop pretending and quickly stand up. Rocks are still falling down. We have to hurry up and get out. Otherwise, we'll be crushed to death in the mine." However, no matter how much Xing Chick yelled and pushed, Xiao Chen was still lying there without moving. If it wasn't for the fact that she could feel his breathing and the weak rise and fall of his chest, Xing Chick would have thought that Xiao Chen was really dead. Without any other choice, little Miss Xing could only strenuously help Xiao Chen up and drag him out of the mine. This was because the ceiling that Xiao Chen was on was already shaking and it was not safe at all. If they didn't leave quickly, the two of them might be buried alive. "Why are you so heavy? You look so skinny, but you're as heavy as a dead pig." Although little Miss Xing was complaining, she didn't stop walking. Because little Miss Xing was also injured by the rocks, she couldn't use too much strength. Thus, she could only drag Xiao Chen and slowly walk forward. After walking for an unknown amount of time, little Miss Xing felt that her footsteps were getting heavier and her eyelids were getting heavier. Although they were already out of the danger zone, they were still quite a distance away from the mine exit. In order to raise her spirits, little Miss Xing could only mutter to herself, "Xiao Chen, why are you so mysterious? Why did you come to such a dangerous place to cultivate? Furthermore, I've never heard of spiritual jades being able to help cultivators increase their cultivation. How did you do it? Just now, your surroundings were so strong and you bounced me so far away. I thought you could also bounce rocks away. I didn't think that you would faint in just one hit. Xiao Chen, I'm so tired. Why is this road so long? I can't see the end. Are we going to be stuck here forever? Are we going to die in the mine just like that? Xiao Chen, the road in front is so blurry. Why can't I see clearly? The surrounding lights aren't on either. Did I go the wrong way? When can we go out?" Chapter 1064. Xiao Chen, I don't have any strength. I really want to lie on the bed, have a comfortable sleep. As Xing Biao spoke, her vision suddenly turned black and she fainted. However, even though she fainted, her hands were still tightly grabbing onto Xiao Chen's body. It could be seen how persistent she was. Actually, Xiao Chen was already conscious at this time. When Xing Biao pushed him, he had already woken up. That jerk was his reaction. However, no matter how he tried, he could not control his body. It was as if his entire body did not belong to him. Helpless, Xiao Chen's primordial spirit could only stay in his sea of consciousness and quietly watch everything that Xing Biao did for him. To be honest, Xiao Chen was a little touched. He thought to himself that this young master transvestite was quite kind. It was fortunate that he did not kill her previously. Otherwise, he would really regret it to death. Although she was working for the Awakening Heaven sect, her heart was not considered bad. She was a kind girl. On the other hand, Xiao Chen was also very depressed. When the mine cave collapsed, it was not that he did not escape on purpose. It was just that he was stuck at the point of breaking through. Even he could not control the speed of his yuan qi absorption. He could only wait until he successfully advanced to the nascent soul stage before he could leave. However, he did not expect that the top of the cave above him would collapse so quickly. The rubble smashed into his body and directly knocked him out. Now, not only was Xiao Chen's body seriously injured, even his previous cultivation was in vain. His injuries were even more serious than before. He tried to call out to the elder heaven ancestor a few times but realized that there was no response. Xiao Chen could not help but secretly complain. Although the nearby load-bearing structures were not damaged and it was relatively safe, he and Xing Biao were both injured and bleeding non-stop. If no one came to save them in time, forget about healing their injuries, just the blood loss alone could kill them. Bang bang bang. Vice Manager, something bad has happened. While Xiao Chen was frowning, Jia Xiaolu was vigorously pounding on Jia Hongyong's door. As he pounded, he shouted, "Don't sleep, hurry up and come out to take a look. Our new mining area collapsed." Jia Hongyong opened the door with sleepy eyes. He had gone to bed late last night and was sleeping soundly at this time. He was woken up by Jia Xiaolu. He had nowhere to vent his anger, so he knocked his head and said impatiently, "What are you yelling for? Why aren't you standing guard in the middle of the night? Why are you yelling at me? Are you itching for a beating?" "No. It was the new mining area that had collapsed. The distinguished guest you invited. No, in short, you should go and take a look. It'll be too late if we're late." Although Jia Xiaolu was burning with anxiety, he didn't forget to gloss over the matter of the distinguished guest. "What? Collapsed?" Jia Hongyong jumped in fright and sobered up. He grabbed a coat and a flashlight and quickly ran toward the mine. Jia Xiaolu hurriedly followed behind him. As Jia Hongyong ran, he turned around and asked Jia Xiaolu, "Why did the mine suddenly collapse? I remember that it was reinforced 2 days ago." At this time, he kept praying in his heart, hoping that nothing bad would happen to Hero Xiao. Otherwise, his job as a deputy manager would be over. "I'm not too sure about that. I was standing guard when I suddenly heard a dull sound coming from the mine. Then, there was a lot of dust coming out. I waited at the door for more than 10 minutes. When I realized that no one had come out, I quickly came to look for you," Jia Xiaolu explained while panting. "What the f***ck? You waited at the door for more than 10 minutes, and now you're here to report to me? What the f***ck were you doing earlier?" Jia Hongyong was so angry that he almost kicked Jia Xiaolu away. He had stayed in Tianyu mine for many years. He knew that 1 to 2 hours after a mine disaster happened was the golden time to organize a rescue. If they missed this time, the people left in the mine would be in great danger. Not only would their injuries not be treated, but the air would also become thinner. I thought he was lucky and would escape by himself. That's why I didn't think of reporting it immediately." Jia Xiaolu scratched his head and said guiltily. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu. Seeing that they were already at the entrance of the mine, he could not be bothered to scold him anymore. He turned on his flashlight and rushed into the mine. However, before he could go far, he was choked by the dust and coughed non-stop. Cough, cough. Why is it so serious? Could it be that Hero Xiao blew up the mine? Jia Hongyong whispered to himself as he dispersed the dust in front of him. At this time, not only was the visibility of the road in front of them very low, but it was also covered with dust everywhere. Even if they turned on the flashlight, it wouldn't illuminate far. Fortunately, there was only one passage in the entire mine. Otherwise, they would get lost just by walking in. "Deputy Manager, why don't you wait here for a while? I'll go out and get 2 gas masks." Cough, cough. Jia Xiaolu also frowned and suggested. Jia Xiaolu was not afraid of inhaling too much dust. It was just that he could not see the road clearly due to the situation in front of him. He had only taken a few steps, but he almost tripped over the gravel several times. "There's no need, I already saw him." Jia Hongyong waved his hand and raised his flashlight. He shone the light not far away and saw a figure crawling on the ground. Although it was covered in dust and tattered, he could still vaguely see that it was Xiao Chen's clothes. Jia Hongyong walked towards the crawling Xiao Chen. As he walked, he felt that something was wrong. He took a closer look and realized that other than Xiao Chen, there was another person lying beside him. Why is there another person? Who is this man? Jia Hongyong walked quickly to the side of Xiao Chen and Miss Xing and blurted out in surprise. I don't know either. Other than your esteemed guest, I didn't see anyone else come in. What's going on? Could it be that he was hiding inside? Jia Xiaolu was also stunned. He carefully looked at Miss Xing's appearance and realized that he had never seen her before. He could not help but feel puzzled. Before you were on guard duty, I came in to patrol. There was definitely no one hiding here. He must have come in from behind. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu. What a waste. You didn't even notice a living person sneaking in. Jia Hongyong squatted down and reached out to check for Xiao Chen and Miss Xing's breathing. He realized that the two were still alive, but their breathing was rather weak. He thought for a moment and said, "Forget it, help me carry them out first. I'll find someone to deal with the collapse later." Jia Xiaolu agreed and carefully carried Xiao Chen and Miss Xing out with Jia Hongyong. They were sent back to the room that was prepared for Xiao Chen. Chapter 1065. Because Xing Chik kept clinging to Xiao Chen and Jia Hongyong couldn't figure out her identity, he decided to put her and Xiao Chen on the same bed. After settling down Xiao Chen and Xing Chik, Jia Hongyong carefully reminded Jia Xiaolu not to go around gossiping. Then, he returned to his room, picked up his phone, and dialed Jia Muzin's number. "Hello, Hongyong, it's so late. Is there something urgent you need me for?" It was early in the morning, and Jia Muzin was in a daze. However, when he saw Jia Hongyong's call, he still picked up his phone and answered the call. "This, young Master Mu Sen, something happened here." Jia Hongyong paused. He didn't know how to bring up Xiao Chen's matter. After all, yesterday evening, Jia Muzin had repeatedly reminded him to take good care of Xiao Chen, and he had readily agreed. He didn't expect that in just one night, Xiao Chen would suffer such serious injuries and be unconscious. What happened? What happened? Did something happen to Xiao Chen? Don't dilly-dally and tell me quickly. Although Jia Hongyong was stuttering, Jia Muzin still quivered and sat up from the bed as he eagerly asked. "Young Master Mu Sen, don't worry. It's like this. After I picked up Hero Xiao last night, I arranged a room for him. Then, he went to a newly opened mine alone. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, so I didn't stop him. However, not long after, the mine collapsed." Jia Hongyong summoned up his courage and explained in detail what had happened. "What? Collapsed? Is his injury serious?" Jia Muzin was now completely awake, so he hurriedly asked. "Hero Zhao's life shouldn't be in danger, but there are many wounds on his body from the rubble. Currently, he is still unconscious." Jia Hongyong answered honestly. "No. I'd better go to the mine myself and bring him some healing pills." Jia Muzin pondered for a while. He was really worried about Xiao Chen, so he immediately got up from the bed and put on his clothes, shoes, and socks with his phone between his ears. He was ready to rush to the heavenly jade mine. "Young Master Mu Sen, don't worry. I've already given Hero Xiao a medicinal pill. It should be fine." Jia Hongyong hesitated and said, "I think it's better if you don't come over right now." "Why?" "If I don't visit Xiao Chen, I won't feel at ease." Jia Muzin frowned. Could it be that Jia Hongyong was trying to avoid responsibility by not letting him visit? "Young Master Mu Sen, maybe you don't know. I have to report the collapse of the mine to the Patriarch first. According to the rules, the family must send someone to investigate the cause of the accident. If you rush over at this time, I'm afraid it will be too conspicuous." Jia Hongyong replied in a cautious tone. Jia Muzin was startled. He didn't expect Jia Hongyong to say such a thing. After thinking for a while, he felt that what Jia Hongyong said did make some sense. Firstly, it was difficult to explain why Xiao Chen wanted to go to the mine. Secondly, he had just become the patriarch's successor, so he would definitely be extremely busy. It would be difficult for him to get away. If he rushed over to the mine, it would be difficult to explain if his grandfather asked. After pondering for a long time, Jia Muzin nodded and said, "All right. Then I won't go for the time being, but you must take good care of Xiao Chen. No matter what happens, you must report to me immediately. If Xiao Chen wakes up, you must also tell me in time." "No problem, you can rest assured and leave it to me." Jia Hongyong agreed and said, "There's one more thing." "What is it this time?" Jia Muzin's heart had just calmed down a little, but it was immediately tensed up again. This Jia Hongyong was really something. Couldn't he say everything in one go? Did he have to cut it in half and ride on a roller coaster to play with people? That. Just now in the mine, other than Hero Xiao, I also saw another pretty boy. This person was also heavily injured and fainted on the ground. Jia Hongyong thought for a while and added, "But when I found him, he was still firmly holding onto Hero Xiao's arm, as if he wanted to drag him out. He probably wanted to save Hero Xiao." "Do you know this person?" Jia Hongyong roughly described Xing's appearance, wanting to know if Jia Muzin had any impression of this person. "It's her. She was also injured." Jia Muzin was a little surprised. From Jia Hongyong's description, this person was clearly Xing. Could it be that Xing chick was saving Xiao Chen? Perhaps, there was such a possibility. Jia Muzin remembered that Xiao Chen once mentioned that Xing chick helped him block a fatal blow from Ma Baixia. Jia Muzin thought for a while. Although he couldn't figure out which side Xing chick was on, it seemed that she wouldn't harm Xiao Chen, so he instructed, "She is also considered a friend of Xiao Chen. There shouldn't be a problem. Since she was injured, take care of her." Okay, I understand." Jia Hongyong nodded and said, "Then I'll go see them first. Sorry to disturb your rest. If there's a situation, I'll call you again." "Okay, I'll wait for your news." Jia Muzin hung up the phone and looked out the window. He realized that the sky was about to brighten. He was too lazy to take off his clothes again, so he directly laid on the bed with his clothes on. However, he kept thinking about Xiao Chen's safety in his heart. He couldn't fall asleep no matter how he tossed and turned. Heavenly Jade Mine, in Xiao Chen's temporary room. Xiao Chen didn't know how long he stayed in the sea of consciousness. After being moved to the room, he was so tired that he fell asleep. After a busy night, he urgently needed time to recuperate. In a daze, he vaguely felt a flash of white light in front of him. His body felt warm and comfortable. Slowly opening his eyes, Xiao Chen first looked around and realized that he was lying on the bed. Sunlight shone into the room from the window and covered the entire bed. The white light he felt just now was the rising sun shining on his face. And there was a person standing beside his bed. It was Jia Hongyong, who was wild with joy. "Hero Xiao, you're finally awake." Jia Hongyong immediately stretched out his hand and took Xiao Chen's pulse. After feeling for a while, he estimated that there shouldn't be any major problems. He then let out a long sigh and said excitedly, "You fainted for a day and a night. You almost scared me to death. Now, since you're safe and sound, I can finally report to young Master Mu Sun. He's called me a few times already." "Ugh. What happened? Why did I faint for so long?" Xiao Chen rubbed his head. He still felt a little confused. Looking down, he found that his body was covered with small wounds and bruises. Chapter 1066. He tried to recall, but he couldn't remember why he fainted or how he ended up lying on the bed. His memory of that night seemed to be blank. I don't know what happened to the mine you went to, but a lot of the spirit jades inside were shattered into powder, so it collapsed and knocked you out, Jia Hongyong carefully explained. Oh, I seem to remember something, but the memory is a bit blurry. Xiaochen touched his head and discovered that it was wrapped in several layers of gauze. He had probably suffered a concussion, which affected his short-term memory. Hero Xiao, are you all right? Do you want me to arrange for a professional medical staff to come and check on your condition? Jia Hongyong asked worriedly as he looked at Xiao Chen's slightly dazed expression. I'm fine, I just slept for too long, so I can't wake up for a while. Xiao Chen shook his head. He suddenly thought of something and asked, how is the collapsed mine? Can it be handled? Oh, the old patriarch has already sent technicians over to investigate the cause. But don't worry, they haven't found anything yet. Jia Hongyong replied with a smile. In fact, Jia Hongyong was very clear that this matter was definitely related to Xiao Chen. But he was a smart person, so he naturally knew who he should cover for at this time. So, he casually played dumb and fooled the technicians. He reckoned that those people were still thinking hard about why the spirit jades had shattered. Hee, thank you. My memory is still a bit blurry, so I can't provide any more help. Xiao Chen looked at Jia Hongyong with appreciation. He thought to himself that this kid was worth teaching. This guy really knew how to adapt to the situation. He was a talent. It's fine, it's fine. You should rest for a while more. Jia Hongyong quickly waved his hand, then smiled and said, I'll go report to young Master Musen that I'm safe. He has been worried for a day and a night. There's water and food on the table in the room. If you have any other needs, feel free to let me know. After saying that, Jia Hongyong took out his phone and nodded to apologize to Xiao Chen. Then, he went out to call Jia Musen. Before leaving, he didn't forget to quietly close the door. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He first tried to circulate his mental cultivation method, but he suddenly made a shocking discovery. Under the circulation of the mental cultivation method, Xiao Chen discovered that the injuries on his body were rapidly healing. Furthermore, the originally blurry part of his brain was gradually becoming clearer, and fragments of memories were constantly emerging. From the moment he was stopped from entering the mining area to the moment he went into the mining cave to cultivate, he sucked up all the spirit jades and turned them into powder, causing the mining cave to collapse. After that, Xing Xiaolu, who was also injured, wanted to save him and dragged him out. In the end, she exhausted all her strength and fainted on the ground. In the end, the two of them were saved by Jia Hongyong and Jia Xiaolu. Apart from the endless stream of memories, there was another crucial point. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt as if his body was about to explode. An unprecedentedly powerful yuan qi surged out from his dantian and frantically expanded the meridians in his body. It was not under Xiao Chen's control at all. Xiao Chen held his breath and quietly observed the changes. After the majestic yuan qi circulated a few hundred times, it once again returned to his dantian and gradually formed a cyclone. As the yuan qi gathered, it became bigger and bigger. It constantly attacked the surroundings of his dantian, as if it wanted to tear Xiao Chen's body apart. Xiao Chen knew that this was the most important moment. He gritted his teeth and did not move, enduring the tearing pain in his body. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Xiao Chen suddenly heard a loud sound beside his ear, as if there was an explosion. Then, his body became light as a feather. His divine sense continuously expanded outwards, covering an extremely far distance, until it reached a radius of tens of kilometers. He saw some people holding pickaxes and mining diligently in the mine. Some people were hiding in the shade of trees, wiping their sweat and drinking water to rest. There were also people in the wilderness, fighting against unknown monsters. Only when it reached the furthest distance did Xiao Chen's divine sense slowly retract and gradually fade away. At this time, Xiao Chen also realized that he had successfully broken through to the first level of the original infant stage. What made Xiao Chen the happiest was that, in addition to the elder heaven ancestor waking up from his dormant period, and little demon and the flame of the underworld had also woken up. Elder heaven ancestor, what's going on? Previously, I absorbed so many spiritual jades, but I didn't break through and even caused a collapse. Why did I break through now that I'm covered in wounds? Xiaochen retracted his divine sense and asked in his mind in puzzlement. Isn't that simple? At that time, you just absorbed all the spiritual energy into your body and stored it. Before you had time to refine it, the mind collapsed. The voice of the elder heaven ancestor came slowly. Now that you've woken up and used the mental cultivation method to refine the spiritual energy into primordial qi, nourishing your meridians and healing your injuries, the converted primordial qi is so huge, of course you'll break through. So that's how it is. Xiaochen nodded and asked in confusion. But I remember that when the mind collapsed, I was in the form of a primordial spirit. I have memories of what happened in the mine. Why did these memories disappear when I woke up just now? Did I remember it when I used the mental cultivation method? Are you stupid? The primordial spirit is equivalent to your subconscious, and the memories stored in your brain belong to your conscious. At that time, you were hit in the head by the spiritual stone, and your brain was seriously injured, so your memory was naturally damaged. When you use primordial qi to heal the damage to your brain, won't your memory automatically come back? The elder heaven ancestor explained. Oh, I was wondering what was going on. Xiaochen came to a sudden realization and awkwardly rubbed his nose. He stretched his body and prepared to get out of bed to wash up. But just as he got up, he realized that his clothes were tightly grabbed by someone. Turning around, he saw that it was the bruised and swollen Xing lass with her eyes closed. Kid, your luck is really not bad. This time, you were knocked unconscious by the spiritual jade. If she hadn't saved you in time, I reckon that your little life would have been lost in the mine. The elder heaven ancestor clicked his tongue as if he was very envious. That's right, this time, it's lucky that Xing lass was there. Otherwise, the result would be hard to say. Oh right, how are her injuries? Xiaochen carefully examined her and realized that her injuries were quite serious. It was probably because she was trying to drag him out that she didn't have time to heal her injuries. Xiaochen immediately grabbed her other empty hand and transferred his primordial qi to her to heal her injuries. Looking at Xing lass clutching his clothes tightly and her weak and haggard appearance, Xiaochen couldn't help but feel a deep sense of guilt in his heart. Xing lass was different from him. After all, she wasn't a cultivator. In a state of hypoxia for a long time, even if she was at the peak of the 10th level of the Demon King, she wouldn't be able to hold on. Her life would definitely be in danger. Chapter 1067. Oxygen was the source of life. The most heaven-defying aspect of a cultivator was that they could convert the energy of the spirit jade into yuan qi. Then, the yuan qi could be converted into various substances that the body needed. There was no need for a constant supply of oxygen. However, cultivators did not have this ability. Looking at the pitiful state that Xing was in, Xiaochen would be lying if he said he was not touched. Regardless of who this girl worked for or why she was spying on him, she was still very loyal to her friends at crucial times. As Xiaochen continued to transfer yuan qi into Xing Ling's body, her injuries began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, she was completely healed. Xiaochen was also very surprised. He muttered to himself, "Is this the strength of an original infant stage cultivator? Isn't this too awesome?" The elder heaven ancestor inspected Xiaochen's strength and said sourly, "You've indeed reached the original infant stage. TSK, your cultivation is almost catching up to mine. Looks like that spirit jade mine is a good place. I should go there a few more times in the future." Still going? I've already become like this the first time. I don't know if there will be anyone to save me the next time. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and shook his head. He felt the yuan qi circulating rapidly in his body and sighed, "Elder heaven ancestor, the feeling of breaking through to the original infant stage is simply too awesome. I feel like I can completely defeat all the weaklings that I competed with before." Of course. This is the difference between cultivators. The elder heaven ancestor replied matter-of-factly, "The strength of an original infant stage cultivator and a golden core stage cultivator are naturally incomparable. Otherwise, why would your breakthrough be so difficult? The greater the price, the greater the reward. The higher the cultivation, the greater the difference in strength between a cultivator and a normal cultivator. That's right. Xiao Qin stared at Xing, whose face was gradually turning red. He thought to himself, it's just like what the elder heaven ancestor said. Not to mention a level 2 venerable, I can even face a level 10 venerable with ease. Although Xing Chick's injuries were almost completely healed, she still hadn't woken up. She didn't know that Xiao Qin was helping her heal. She had a dream in a daze. She dreamed that she was seriously injured for some reason. She was lying on the bed, unable to move, and Xiao Qin was carefully taking care of her. In the dream, this hateful fellow was so gentle for the first time, patiently treating her wounds, undressing her, and even wiping her body. Aya, how embarrassing. Why did he have such a strange dream? Did that scoundrel Xiao Qin do something wrong? Have you let me down? Otherwise, why would he suddenly become so gentle? Unexpectedly, Xing Chick didn't explode in anger when she saw this scene in her dream. Instead, she felt shy and warm, as well as a sense of novelty. Xing Chick thought back to her experiences when she was young. There were many times when she was seriously injured, but she forced herself to endure it. No one had ever cared about her life. Although Awakening Heaven's sect gave her everything, such as abundant cultivation resources and secret manuals, it also taught her what it meant to be cold. It taught her how to use different masks to hide her true emotions when dealing with different people. After the sect nurtured her, they only cared if she could complete her mission and follow the instructions of the higher-ups. As for everything else, they ignored it. So when Xing Chick dreamt of Xiao Qin taking care of her, she didn't have her usual vigilance. She only felt a strong sense of warmth and closeness. However, this dream was quite realistic. Xiao Qin held his own hand, and it was as if he could feel the real warmth. Xing Chick's eyelids moved a few times before she slowly opened her eyes. The scene in front of her went from blurry to clear. Xing Chick suddenly saw that Xiao Qin was sitting at the side with a gentle expression, holding her hand tightly. She blinked her eyes and woke up a little. Only then did she realize that this was not a dream. It was real. She instantly jumped in fright. She widened her eyes and shouted, You! What are you doing? Are you crazy? You're the one who's crazy. I'm treating you. Don't move. I didn't expect you to have a stuttering problem. Xiao Qin felt Chick Xing shrink back and wanted to pull her hand back. He immediately used all his strength and grabbed her hand tightly, not letting go. Io, you big scoundrel. You're hurting me. Little Miss Xing pouted in pain as she frowned and complained. Isn't it because you're moving around? Otherwise, why would I use force? Be more obedient and it won't hurt in a while. As Xiao Qin spoke, he suddenly froze. He felt that the content of their conversation was not suitable for children. Humph. On the other hand, Miss Xing was completely oblivious to this ambiguous conversation. She tried a few more times, but she realized that she could not retract her arm no matter what, so she could only give up. She felt that Xiao Qin really seemed to be helping her heal, so she could only remain silent. That's more like it. Wait a little longer, I'll be done soon. Xiao Qin nodded his head in satisfaction and continued to treat Xing Chick. Bored to death, Xing Chick looked around the room. However, when her gaze landed on her legs, she was shocked and exclaimed, Ah! Why are my pants split open? Did you do this, you scoundrel? You big scoundrel. Deep well ice, I'm not interested in ladyboys. Xiao Qin said impatiently. However, he still couldn't help but glance at Xing Chick's legs. You're still saying you're not interested? Where are your eyes looking? Do you think I won't dig your eyeballs out? Xing Chick immediately caught onto Xiao Chen's gaze and shouted angrily. Xiao Chen didn't care about Xing Chick's threat at all. Instead, he joked, speaking of which, your ladyboy's legs are quite white. Don't you do a lot of Jingduoyan? Looks like you do a lot of squats as well. Your butt is quite perky. TSK, looks like you really know how to take care of yourself. I told you not to look and you're still looking. I'm not a lady boy. Little girl Xing glared at him in exasperation. She used her other free hand to pull the blanket over her legs and said angrily, "You stinking bastard. You already know I'm a girl, yet you keep calling me lady boy. So annoying. Tell me, how do I look like a lady boy?" "Well, I think people like you, who like to dress up as a man all the time, are all lady boys." Xiao Chen saw that Xing Chick was unconvinced and added, "Otherwise, look at Xing Menjing and Ling Qinxue. Which girl always dresses up as a man and runs around? Why do they have to be called young master? If they aren't lady boys, then what are they? TSK, I'm different from them. Don't compare me to others." Xing Chick pouted and tilted her head. She was too lazy to talk to Xiao Chen anymore. Chapter 1068. That's why you're a transvestite. Xiao Chen smiled as he shook his head and continued to treat Miss Xing's injuries. Not long after, Miss Xing felt Xiao Chen let go of her hand. She turned her head in surprise and asked, "Didn't you say you were going to treat me? Why did you run away after such a short time? Are you unable to do it? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Whether I can or not, how would you know if you don't try?" Xiao Chen casually retorted. Then, he picked up the food and water on the table and sat on the bed to eat. "Try what? Why do you want me to try if you can or not?" Miss Xing's face was full of confusion. She had no idea what Xiao Chen was talking about. "I mean, what other wounds do you have on your body?" Xiao Chen drank some water and thought for a while before saying, "Oh, I understand. Did you get 2 mosquito bites on your upper body when you were young? And your lower body was slashed by a mantis? I really can't treat these wounds. Otherwise, you'll really become a transvestite." "Ah. What do you mean? Why do you keep saying things that I don't understand?" Chick Xing was stunned again. She subconsciously lowered her head and took a look. After pondering for a while, she suddenly came to a realization. She pointed at Xiao Chen with a red face and scolded, You really are a baddie. You're actually so despicable. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have saved you. It would have been much easier to let you die in the mine. Pervert. 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 Anyway, I'm already out. You can't turn back time." Xiao Chen casually replied. Then, he picked up a chicken leg and wolfed it down. He hadn't eaten for 2 days and 1 night. In addition, he had used up some energy just now. He just wanted to eat something to replenish his energy. Then, he grabbed another bun and stuffed it into his mouth. As Xiao Chen chewed, he mumbled, "Transvestite, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Do you want to eat and drink something?" "Not hungry. Not thirsty. Just eat, I'll give it all to you. You'll choke to death sooner or later." Miss Xing was furious. This guy was doing this on purpose. Aren't you asking this question for nothing? Everyone has been unconscious for such a long time. Are you the only one who's hungry? Good intentions were not rewarded well. "Oh, okay, then I'll eat them all. This bun is really fragrant. The roast chicken is also not bad. Give me a like." Xiao Chen immediately agreed. He let go of his stomach and ate with big mouthfuls. He even purposely made ba ji sounds. From time to time, he would look at Miss Xing and praise her delicious food. He had a look of enjoyment on his face. Lady Xing was about to explode from anger. However, when she heard Xiao Chen's alluring voice, her stomach failed to live up to her expectations and started to rumble. However, she had already said that she wouldn't do anything, so she was too embarrassed to take more food. She could only sit on the bed silently and endure it. She wished that she could plug her ears with earplugs and curse Xiao Chen several times in her heart. It's so delicious. To think that a small place like Jia Hongyong could actually make such delicious food. Not bad, not bad. Looks like I'll have to come here a few more times in the future. Xiao Chen let out a long burp. He even turned his head and licked his fingers at Lady Xing with a dirty expression on his face. Dong dong dong. Just as Lady Xing was about to explode, a series of knocks suddenly came from the door. Xiao Chen put down the plate and kettle and ran over to open the door. He discovered Jia Hongyong standing there with 2 sets of clothes and 2 pairs of new shoes. Hero Xiao, you're already fine? Jia Hongyong looked at the radiant Xiao Chen and was very surprised. Before he went out, Xiao Chen was still covered in injuries and looked miserable. It hadn't been long, but he had already recovered. I'm fine. Thank you for your care. When I go back, I'll definitely put in a good word for you to Jia Muzhen, Xiao Chen replied with a smile. You're too polite. Jia Hongyong hurriedly thanked him and then handed over the clothes. He said with a smile, these are the clothes and shoes I prepared for you and that little brother. Try them on first. If they don't fit, let me know and I'll go change into 2 more sets. Thank you, thank you. Fortunately, you're here. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know how to face people when I go back in these tattered clothes. Xiao Chen nodded and took the clothes. He didn't expect Jia Hongyong's thoughts to be so meticulous. Not only did he prepare clothes for him, but he also prepared a set for Lady Xing. You're too polite. It's just a slight effort. Jia Hongyong waved his hand again and again, not daring to claim credit for himself. He said, oh right, I just made a phone call. Young Master Musen already knows about your situation. He told me to take good care of you, so you can rest assured and stay here. No one will come to disturb you. If you have any instructions, just let me know. Cough cough cough. Just as Xiao Chen was about to speak, he suddenly heard Lady Xing coughing non-stop. He couldn't figure out what was going on. He said to Jia Hongyong, all right, I won't say any polite words. You can go do what you need. If I need anything else, I'll find you again. All right, all right. Please help yourself. Jia Hongyong was very quick-witted. He immediately nodded and turned to leave. Cough cough cough. After sending Jia Hongyong off, Xiao Chen heard that Lady Xing was still coughing. He looked back in surprise and almost burst out laughing. It turned out that this girl had hidden on the bed to eat the remaining buns while he was chatting. In the end, she choked. Cough cough. Water. Quick, give me water. Lady Xing's face turned red. She almost choked on the bun and couldn't breathe. She reached out to grab the nearby water bottle but couldn't reach it. I'm impressed. You're really good. You can even choke on a bun. Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly and walked over to pour a cup of water for Lady Xing. Lady Xing hurriedly took it and gulped it down. Finally, the food that was stuck in her throat was delivered to her stomach. Humph. At least you still have some conscience. You know to leave me something to eat. Lady Xing put down the cup of water and let out a long sigh. She couldn't be bothered with Xiao Chen's mockery anymore. She picked up another bun and stuffed it into her mouth. However, this time, she didn't dare to eat too much. Instead, she chewed slowly before swallowing the bun. Oh, actually, I was planning to eat it later. Since you're so hungry, I'll let you eat it all. Xiao Chen saw that Lady Xing was eating so happily. He couldn't bear to tease her anymore. Out of the clothes that Jia Hongyong had brought over, he picked up a smaller set of clothes and threw it on the bed. Then, he picked up another set of clothes and walked out. Hey, where are you going? Lady Xing was startled and hurriedly shouted. I'm going to change. Everyone wants to see a running man. Do you want to see a naked man? I have to charge you. Xiao Chen said in a bad mood. I'm not looking. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to have a needle eye. Lady Xing hurriedly turned her head and faced the wall to chase Xiao Chen away. Chapter 1069. Xiao Chen stopped at the door and said, change your clothes after you finish eating. I might stay here for a few more days. Whether you want to stay or leave, it's up to you." After he finished speaking, he left the room without looking back. Little girl Xing turned around and looked at Xiao Chen's departing figure. Her heart was very conflicted. She wanted to complete the task that elder son had given her, but she didn't want to stay with Xiao Chen. After experiencing the dangerous mining accident, she felt that she had developed a strange feeling for Xiao Chen, but she couldn't explain it. This feeling made her uncontrollably flustered. She wanted to see Xiao Chen, but she also wanted to stay far away from him. It was a very contradictory feeling. However, Xiao Chen didn't think as much as little girl Xing. He had his own reasons for staying. One reason was to consolidate his cultivation, and the other reason was to see if there was an opportunity for him to break through again. After all, this kind of opportunity was very rare. He also wanted to see if he could increase his cultivation a bit, so that he wouldn't have to rely on the elder heaven ancestor to help him in the future. Ever since Jia Muzhen found out about the mine, he was muddle-headed the entire day. From time to time, he would call Jia Hongyong, but all he received was the news that Xiao Chen was still unconscious. He didn't dare tell Qing Menjing and the others, so he didn't sleep well at night. It wasn't until early the next morning that he received a call from Jia Hongyong and found out that Xiao Chen had woken up, that the stone in his heart was finally put down. With great difficulty, he lay on his bed and took a nap for a while. Then, a servant knocked on the door and said that the family head, Jia Jinyan, wanted him to immediately go to the study. There was an important matter that needed to be discussed. Jia Muzhen listened to the message in a half-awake and half-dazed state. His eyes suddenly widened. Could it be that the matter of Xiao Chen going to the heavenly jade mine had been discovered? Greatly alarmed, his sleepiness immediately flew to the horizon. He immediately got up and washed up. He didn't care about eating breakfast and quickly ran to Jia Jinyan's study. "Mu Sen, what happened? Did you not sleep well last night? Why are the dark circles under your eyes so serious?" Jia Jinyan frowned and asked indifferently when he saw Jia Muzhen running in with a flustered expression and two panda eyes. Everyone was too enthusiastic at the banquet the day before yesterday, so I accidentally drank too much. Plus, I just won the competition, so I'm quite excited, so I haven't been sleeping well for the past 2 days." Jia Muzhen sneaked a glance at Jia Jinyan and discovered that he didn't seem to be angry. Instead, he seemed to be in a good mood. It seemed that Xiao Chen hadn't been exposed and had just casually made up an excuse. "Oh, I see." Jia Jinyan smiled faintly, not feeling offended. "It's nothing. You've worked so hard for such a long time, and you even had such an outstanding performance in the clan's tournament. It's normal for you to take a break." Jia Muzhen secretly heaved a sigh of relief and didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly bowed respectfully and asked, "I wonder what Grandpa wants me to do by calling me over so early in the morning?" Jia Jinyan waved his hand at Jia Muzhen and said with a smile, Come. Sit here and let's have a good talk. Since you've already become the successor of the clan head, I wonder if you have any unique views on the future development of the Jia clan?" I don't have any experience in this area before." Jia Muzhen sat down. Only now did he realize that his grandfather was looking for him to discuss the Jia clan's problems. He modestly waved his hand and said, "Please give me some pointers, Grandpa. Perhaps I can follow by your side and learn for a period of time. Otherwise, I'll be in the dark and won't be able to say anything." Jia Jinyan also knew that he was being a bit difficult. Jia Muzhen's parents had passed away when he was young, so he definitely wasn't as familiar with the affairs of the Jia clan as Jia Huiyan and the others. Thus, he gently explained, Our Jia clan is one of the 3 major clans of the inner martial arts circle. We mainly produce spiritual jades and provide them to the other sects and clans of the inner martial arts circle in exchange for corresponding resources as a means of survival." Having said that, Jia Jinyan got up and opened the cabinet behind him. He took out a thick stack of information and placed it in front of Jia Muzhen. Jia Muzhen lowered his head and gave it a cursory glance. The content of the information was related to spiritual jades. There were also some transaction contracts, but they seemed to be from a few years ago. Jia Jinyan pointed at the cover of the stack of information and said indifferently, "This information is the report of the amount of spiritual jades produced by the Jia clan over the years, as well as the transaction contracts with various major sects and clans. There are also some risk assessments. You can take it back and look at it first, then make your own conclusions." "Okay, Grandpa. After I finish looking at this information, I will submit a complete report to you." Looking at the mountain of information, Jia Muzin felt somewhat fortunate. Fortunately, he had stayed in Lon City University for a period of time and learned some theoretical knowledge. Otherwise, he would really be at a loss when looking at so much content. "No hurry, take it back and slowly look at it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. First, understand this information thoroughly." Jia Jinyan nodded and said with a smile. Dong dong dong. Jia Muzin was just about to say something when a series of hurried footsteps came from afar. Very quickly, they arrived in front of the door. Then, someone politely knocked on the door a few times. "Who is it?" Jia Jinyan asked loudly. "Grandpa, I am Jia Huiyan. May I ask if you have time now? I would like to discuss something with you." Jia Huiyan respectfully replied from outside the door. "Huiyan? Come in." Jia Jinyan was a little surprised. He didn't know why Jia Huiyan was looking for him. This kid had always been someone who wouldn't wake up without benefits. He rarely took the initiative to discuss things with Jia Jinyan. Basically, he acted alone, acting first and reporting later. What was going on today? Did the sun rise from the west? Jia Huiyan pushed the door open and saw Jia Huiyan in a suit and leather shoes. He stood at the door and adjusted his collar, smoothed his hair, and made himself look like a dog. Only then did he step into the study room. "Jia Muzin? What are you doing here?" After walking a few steps, Jia Huiyan was able to clearly see the situation in the room. He was immediately stunned. He originally wanted to look for Jia Jinyan alone to discuss, but when he entered the room, he saw Jia Muzin sitting in front of the desk. His expression couldn't help but become a little embarrassed as he blurted out. "Grandpa asked me to come here. Can't I be here?" Jia Muzin glanced at Jia Huiyan, who was in a well-ironed suit, and casually said, "If you have something that you want to avoid me to tell Grandpa, you can find another time to come. If you are in a hurry, I can also go back first." Although he said that, Jia Muzin didn't have any intention of standing up and leaving. Instead, he sat on the chair even more leisurely, crossing his legs and swinging them. In the past, Jia Muzin was the target of oppression and humiliation in the family. There was nothing wrong with Jia Huiyan directly calling him by his name. But now that he had become the successor of the family head, Jia Huiyan was still arrogant and commanding him around. Jia Muzin naturally wouldn't give him any face. Chapter 1070. Jia Jinyan was a shrewd old man. He keenly sensed Jia Huiyan's hostility towards Jia Muzin. He frowned slightly. Obviously, he was not satisfied with Jia Huiyan's attitude. He opened his mouth and said, "Huiyan, I was discussing clan issues with Muzin. Why did you come looking for me?" This." Jia Huiyan looked left and right. He stammered and couldn't say anything. The matter he wanted to talk about this time was related to Jia Muzin. However, he didn't know what to say in the presence of the person in question. Even if he was stupid and impulsive, he could still hear Jia Jinyan's defense of Jia Muzin. He finally reacted. This guy in front of him was the future patriarch of the Jia clan. He was no longer a nobody that he could chase away. "It seems that the matter you want to talk about is not very important. Forget it, I also have something to talk to you about." Jia Jinyan didn't give Jia Huiyan too much time to think. He pointed to another chair in front of him and signaled for Jia Huiyan to sit down. "May I ask why Grandpa is looking for me?" Jia Huiyan was sweating profusely. He carefully placed half of his butt on the chair and asked in fear and trepidation. Jia Jinyan rummaged for a while and took out another set of documents. He pointed at the cover and said, "Since you are going to be an elder in the future, you should familiarize yourself with these documents. After reading the documents, write a plan for the future development of the Jia clan. There will be a clan meeting in 3 days. At that time, give me the plan." Plan, a plan? Jia Huiyan's mouth was wide open. He had a sluggish look on his face. Other than eating, drinking, and playing, he only knew how to cause trouble for the Jia clan. His father, Jia Yubian, had to help him deal with the aftermath. How could such a brain-burning thing like a plan be written in such a short time? What's wrong? Is there any difficulty? Jia Jinyan looked at Jia Huiyan with a solemn expression and asked with concern. However, in his heart, he was extremely disappointed. Fortunately, the position of the clan head had been passed on to Jia Muzin. Otherwise, if it fell into the hands of Jia Huiyan, it would not take long for the Jia clan to fall into his hands. Looking at how ignorant and incompetent Jia clan was and how he didn't even know how to write a proposal, it would not be long before the Jia clan fell into his hands. No problem. How could Jia Huiyan dare to say there was any difficulty? He could only bite the bullet and agree. He frowned as he looked at the stack of documents in front of him. He felt like his head was about to explode. How was he supposed to start with so many documents? That's good. Later, I will send someone to inform Jia Tuyao and Jia Renzhong, and ask them to make a plan as well. This will be the test for you four before you take office. Jia Jinyan's gaze moved back and forth between Jia Muzin and Jia Huiyan. I also want to see if you youngsters can help the Jia clan make some changes and inject fresh blood into the Jia clan. Jia Muzin smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa. I'll definitely study the information diligently and do my best to hand in a satisfactory answer sheet." "Me too." Jia Huiyan hurriedly agreed. However, he secretly rolled his eyes at Jia Muzin. "You stinking brat, can you stop talking big here? If you can't complete the plan, let's see how you're going to clean up this mess." "I won't, but I have my father." Jia Jinyan nodded in satisfaction and said, "All right, you guys go back and look at the information first. If there's nothing else, don't waste my time." "Okay, Grandpa. I'll take my leave first." Jia Muzin stood up and saluted. He faintly glanced at the absent-minded Jia Huiyan, picked up the information that belonged to him, turned around, and left the study. "Grandpa, I'll also take my leave." Although Jia Huiyan looked reluctant, he had no other choice but to obey. Watching the two of them leave, Jia Jinyan slightly sighed, then ordered a servant to fetch Jia Tuyao and Jia Renzhong. After that, he picked up the teacup on the table, took a sip, and fell into deep thought. Jia Huiyan returned to his room, took out the information, and tried to look at it for a while. In less than 5 minutes, he felt dizzy and couldn't even tell north from south. After persisting for a while, Jia Huiyan decisively threw the information on the table and gave up after turning a few pages. When Jia Yubian heard the commotion, he walked out of the room and saw Jia Huiyan sitting there sulking. There was a messy pile of files on the table. He asked in surprise, "Huiyan, what are you smashing? Where did the information on the table come from?" "Alas. Don't mention it." Jia Huiyan dejectedly complained, "I saw that Shao Chen was not in the family for the past 2 days, so I planned to go to Grandpa's place to talk about the marriage proposal with Tang Xuanjiao. I didn't expect that when I walked into the study, Jia Muzin was also there. In the end, not only did the marriage proposal fail, Grandpa also gave me this pile of information." "What information? What's it for?" Jia Yubian frowned and walked over. "It's some information about the family business. Grandpa told me to finish reading these things, then write a plan about the family's development, and give it to him during the family meeting in 3 days. Jia Huiyan gloomily sat on the chair and explained. "This, father, is really too much. You haven't even touched the family business, how can you write a plan? The older he gets, the more muddle-headed he gets." Jia Yubian flipped through the information on the table. It was indeed all kinds of reports of the Jia family in recent years. Some of the contracts looked quite familiar, and it just so happened that he had personally signed the contracts with other sections. That's right. I just looked through a few pages. I know those words individually, but after putting them together, they recognize me, but I don't recognize them. Jia Huiyan held his head and looked distressed. After Jia Yubian looked through a few documents, he had a rough idea in his heart. He smiled and said, "All right, don't worry. I'll help you write the plan. You can focus on the marriage proposal." "Really? That's great." Jia Huiyan was overjoyed. He slapped his thigh and said, "Father, you are a professional in this field. The plan that you write will definitely satisfy Grandpa. Maybe he will be happy and agree to my marriage with Tang Sujiao." In excitement, Jia Huiyan immediately stood up, tidied up his clothes, and walked out of the door. He was ready to run to the study room and talk to Jia Jinyan again. "Wait. You can't be planning to go now, right?" Jia Yubian stopped Jia Huiyan and looked at him strangely. He thought to himself, "Isn't this kid a little too impatient?" "Of course, as long as you finish the plan, I'll quickly go and talk to Grandpa." Jia Huiyan nodded as if it was a matter of course. "Otherwise, what if Xiaoqun comes back? He definitely won't agree to let me marry Tang Sujiao." Jia Huiyan didn't feel that anything was wrong at all. He just wanted to settle the marriage as soon as possible. That way, even if Xiaoqun came back, it would be useless. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.